We are back with another deadline stream, this time ahead of Game Week 2. Thank you very much for those of you who have tuned in already. We're going to go straight into it, and there are no changes from the team selection video thus far. The only possible changes could be Rico Henry into the starting lineup and also a change of captaincy. But apart from that, I think I'm pretty settled on this team, and that's not even mentioning Onana versus Turner. And all week I've been on Turner's side, and I think I won't change, despite the fact that Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United have a bit of a history of scoring goals against each other. Both teams end up scoring on most occasions, so that's something else to bear in mind. But I'm still going for Turner with all the problems that Sheffield United have at this moment in time. Let me know if you are doing anything differently, and if there are any differentials you are going for. Definitely some players on the watch list and who could come into my team in the next couple of weeks include James Maddison and also Mbeumo. And I think the two most likely to make way in my midfield would be Bruno Fernandes and Matoma, but things could definitely change, especially over the next week or so, and I'm quite happy to make no changes to my starting 11. Let's get straight into your questions as always, and thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to smash the like button if you enjoy the video. Stindra says, hey Dylan, bench Foden for Mbeumo, sell Foden to Maddison or any Liverpool midfielders except Salah, or keep Foden and start. Cash, Jackson, Saliba, which two to start? In terms of the first question, I would just bench Foden for Mbeumo. I think Foden could start and do well against Newcastle. I think he even scored in the 2-0 victory last season, but I would start Mbeumo. As for the defender question, I would start, well, it also involves Jackson. I would go for Jackson and Saliba, but it's a very close call, and you know, I can understand if you want to find a way to put cash into your starting 11. Welcome Twan. Hi Dylan, Jota to Diaz or Jota to Maddison or a -4 Jota to Isak? I don't look, as much as I like Isak as a player, as an FPL option in the future, it makes no sense to take a hit to get him in when he's facing Man City, especially, you know, for a -4. So I wouldn't do that. Jota to Diaz or Jota to Maddison, I would just keep Jota, to be fair. He could start against Bournemouth, and unless you're absolutely confident he won't, I see no reason why you should sell him ahead of Bournemouth at home, where Liverpool scored 9 goals last season. Nabil says, hey Dylan, best replacement for Stones. Already have max Arsenal and Man United assets with 5.4 million in the bank. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Otherwise, I think Chilwell is a very easy suggestion for you. I would also look in another direction. I'm assuming you have a Stupinian already. I don't think you necessarily need 5 really expensive defenders per se, but I think if I had to go for a 5.4 million or below defender, I'd maybe look towards a Rico Henry or a Colwill at 4.5 million. I don't think you need to use all of that 5.4 million, and you can use whatever you have left in the bank to upgrade your midfield. Welcome, Alex. I'm doing well. What about you? Thank you very much for tuning in as always. And welcome, John. And yes, there's going to be a huge shout out for members and patrons very, very soon, John. And you are almost a member for 2 years, so very much appreciate it as always. Start Shaw or Gabriel? Let me just highlight the question. I've lost it already. By Kata. I would start Gabriel. I think he'll start against Crystal Palace, and Arsenal have a better chance of a clean sheet than Man United. Welcome, Junior. Always a pleasure. Abraham says, I already have done Gabriel to Saliba for free. Should I take a hit for James because I don't want to lose value? I wouldn't take a hit. And look, I did make a transfer with that in mind in terms of losing value in Mings and not being able to get that 4.5 million defender I wanted, like Rico Henry, but I wouldn't take a hit for that, so I would say no. Welcome, Bestie. Good to see you. And also Wasting, here we go. And as for the intro music, surprisingly, it was made by my cousin. You know, he was doing a few like electro, you know, songs in the past year or so, and I have to say I liked it, and I've incorporated it into my videos. Akash, welcome. Always a pleasure as well. And Sniper Master YouTube, I think it is. Hi Dylan, nice to see you. My team is Turner, Chilwell, Gabriel, Stupinian, Shaw, Fernandes, Rashford, Saka, Odegaard, Haaland, captain Pedro, and on the bench Pickford, Eze, Botman, Archer. What do you think about my team? I am rolling. I can understand why. I think you're in a good position. In the long term, I would start considering a few moves, especially Pickford. I think you can definitely improve upon him. And maybe in the coming weeks, you can sell Fernandes to a Maddison or an Mbeumo and use those extra funds to bolster other areas. But apart from that, your team is in pretty good shape. Welcome, PTR. Akash says, start Fleckin or Martinez. I would go for Martinez. I think Fulham are more likely to score than Everton, so I would go for Martinez there. Welcome, Car. Rich James getting red flagged like it's his job. Yeah, and maybe FPL weren't quick enough to, you know, flag him. because, you know, after the injury was kind of confirmed, I think it still took a few hours for that to be updated, and those casual managers might not be aware of Reece James being injured, so that was a bit of a shame. Fill in 4 positions: Saliba, Gabriel, Henry, Stupinian, Chilwell. Basically bench 1. I would probably bench Henry there. The thing is, actually, you are going for double Arsenal defence, and whilst that's a differential, I'm not that confident of an Arsenal clean sheet. So, yeah, for me, it's between Gabriel and Henry to bench, and maybe just to be different, I would bench Henry and start Gabriel as well, but it's not a guarantee of a clean sheet. Salah, captain, or Haaland? For me, Salah, as I've said all week, and actually I put out a poll, which I haven't checked the results of yet, but we'll have a look at that very soon too. Trent, captain, or Luis Diaz? Out of those two, I think I'd favour Diaz. I know Trent has more bonus points potential, but I still think Bournemouth could score in that game, so I'd probably give the edge to Diaz. Welcome, Car. Will Shaw says, hey Dylan, hope you're doing well. Having trouble deciding between Gusto or Gabriel. I would start Gabriel this week. Stump Dragon says, hey Dylan, I'm not sure whether to start Mitoma or Jackson. Quite the conundrum. Yeah, I can understand it. I think it's almost 50-50. I would probably give the edge to Mitoma though. Henry or Gabriel, says Dutta. I would go for Gabriel. I'm going to try Wiz Freedies, by the way, just so I can catch up. I do realise I'm very far behind. Aranya says, hey Dylan, play Gabriel or Shaw. I would play Gabriel. Start Eze or Henry. Thank you very much, Ellie. Much appreciated. I would go for Eze. I know it's kind of a difficult one because if you've got an Arsenal defender, you might not want that kind of clash. So it's a really tricky one, actually, between Eze and Henry. The reason why I'd start Eze is because I think Fulham will score. And I also think Eze has a high ceiling. And whilst it might not be that high this week in particular, I still think Eze is capable of some great things. So maybe I'd narrowly go for Eze, but it's a really close call. Luis Diaz or Foden? I'd go for Diaz. Turner versus Steele to start? I'd go for Turner. Try to predict United versus Spurs and the scorers. I'll try to go for predictions later, and that's something that has been requested on this channel. I think both teams will score, and I'm actually predicting a draw. So last year was 2-2. I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened again. I'll probably go for a 1-1 between Man United and Spurs, and in terms of scorers, I would probably go for Heung-min Son and for Rashford. Something like that. It's kind of, you know, very, very rough prediction, and I might change my mind about the goal scorers at least. Why is everyone captaining Haaland? The reason why is because, at least in my case with the other players I have, there's not a particular standout, and Haaland's record at home is tremendous. Last year he scored against Newcastle in a 2-0 victory, and unless you have Salah, I don't see many better captaincy options than Haaland this week, so that's probably why. I don't necessarily agree that's a bad fixture, because Man City have a tremendous record against Newcastle. I think Pep Guardiola is 11 wins, 0 draws and 1 loss against Eddie Howe, and against Newcastle he pretty much beats them every single time. So I think Man City will win. They'll score 2+ goals. It might be a 2-1, a narrow win, but I still think City will score at least 2 goals, and that's why I'm backing Haaland for the captaincy. Rami says captain Rashford, Saka or Watkins. It's between Saka and Watkins for me there. I'd probably give the edge to Saka, but I like Watkins. I think Rashford will be at the bottom of that list. Thank you, John. Very, very much appreciated as always. If I should keep Shaw, should he start over Cash? I'd start Cash this week. Should I start Eze midfield consisting of Mitoma, Rashford, Martinelli and Saka? Says Knox, I think it is. It depends who you start Eze over, though. That's the question. Would I start Eze over one of those midfielders? No, I wouldn't. Start Foden or Martinelli? I'd go for Martinelli. Ray says, hey Dylan, should I start Joao Pedro or Mitoma? That's a really close call. Joao Pedro has penalties over Mitoma. I'd still go for Mitoma though. Got Watkins captain. I don't think it's stupid. I think it is worth a punt. And if I were to take one this week, it would be him. So I don't think it's stupid. Akash says, do you consider Diaby, Saka and Mbeumo as a midfield? I also have Rashford and Maddison on the bench. I like that midfield, but I don't like the fact you're benching, Maddison and Rashford, because I think both Spurs and Man United will score, and I would expect both of them to be involved. And whilst Maddison might have a lesser chance of scoring, he's probably the most likely in that game alongside Fernandes to get an assist. Would you take a -4 hit this week to bring in Salah and Rashford out? I like the idea, but I probably wouldn't, because next week Rashford plays Nottingham Forest, and I think he could do really well. So I don't think it's worth the hit. Should I replace Mings? He has 4.4, so I can't buy a 4.5 million defender. In that case, I would roll the transfer, have 2 in Gameweek 3, and then you can replace Tyrone Mings by downgrading someone else. So, for example, you can downgrade Fernandes to Maddison, maybe not in Gameweek 3, but in Gameweek 4, and then use those funds to upgrade Mings to Rico Henry. Ruben says Henry or Shaw. I'd go for Rico Henry. Hello, I free hitted this week and have Turner, Chilwell, Trent, Estupinian, Danilo, Forest, Imbumo, Salah, Diaz, then Haaland, Watkins, Awani with Salah captain. I like the team. I think it's in the right place. You're tripling up on Liverpool, who have the best fixture on paper. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I would consider starting Martinez over Turner, maybe going for that in the goalkeeper position, or even going for an Aston Villa defender. But to be fair, that looks pretty solid. I'm not so sure about double Nottingham Forest attack. I think Nottingham Forest will score 1 or 2, but I'm not so sure if I would go for Danilo and Awani. I think Awani is enough, and instead of Danilo, I would look elsewhere. Hello, Captain Salah or Haaland? I'd go for Salah this week. So let's actually go for a few different screens since we are getting that Haaland versus Salah question quite often. So let's go for a few different screens. In terms of the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, according to Fantasy Football Hub, Chelsea are top between game weeks 2 to 6. Man City, Brentford, Everton and Arsenal make up the rest of the top 5. And in terms of those at the bottom of this list, you see Burnley, Luton Town and Bournemouth there in the bottom 3. And the blank between Luton and Burnley does have a big part to play, because otherwise the fixtures don't look that bad, I think, for Luton Town and Burnley. But even then, they might lose the majority of those games. In terms of predicted points, this could also help you with your captaincy decision. Haaland is top and Salah is second with a difference of 1.2, despite Haaland facing one of the best teams in the country. Bruno Fernandes is third, Rashford fourth, and Ollie Watkins is fifth. I'm a bit surprised about that. I'm not so sure I would rate the Man United assets that highly. I think Spurs are very poor defensively and United will score, but I'm not so sure if the ceiling will be that high for both Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. In terms of the rest of the top 10, Trent, Maddison, Son, Saka and Mbumo there complete that illustrious list, you could say. And then we look at price rises. So there's going to be a lot of transfer activity over the next hour or two before the deadline. But at the moment, it looks like Mbumo, Ake, Maddison, and Joao Pedro are all on the brink of going up in price. So maybe some of you, after watching this stream and after the deadline is over, you're going to be pulling the trigger and going for some of these moves, and it wouldn't surprise me too much. In terms of those going down in price, Kevin De Bruyne, then you've got Raya, Lukaku. I mean, those aren't really going to be too popular options. I think the rest is kind of, no one of interest really. Anyone else? No, I wouldn't say so. Ruben Diaz, maybe, for those of you that have him. He's also reportedly got an injury problem. John Stones, for those of you that aren't aware, did pick up a hamstring injury after the Super Cup final during training. So he's going to miss out in Game Week 2. And that's another reason why I was quite happy to get rid of Stones before the Game Week 1 deadline. So that is the latest news on him. Anything else that we can show you? Drafthound is a website that I always talk about in my videos. I would highly recommend it. I definitely believe in this website, and it has helped me with my decision making, such as picking my 4-point family defender, such as Rico Henry. I'm very happy with that choice. And this algorithm also favors Turner over Onana, a difference of 0.3 expected points now. That has changed since the last time I discussed Drafthound, and my team selection and the algorithm and the captaincy all favours Erling Haaland as well. But it is Salah who is the top dog here according to the player rankings. And then you've got Luis Diaz in third, Trent fourth, and Bukayo Saka in fifth position. And those of you that might not be aware as well, UCL Fantasy is now live, so keep an eye out for future UCL Fantasy videos and deadline streams. We always go live around 2 hours before the deadline, which is kickoff of the first game of the match day. And I'll be building my first team very soon and making a first draft video, so be sure to tune in for that. And now I want to give a quick shout out to channel members before going back to your questions and comments. Remember, we do have plenty of time still, around 1 hour, 45 minutes before the deadline. So there is no rush, but of course, I do want to get to your questions. So I have to say a huge shout out to all of these channel members. John has been a member for almost 2 years. 21 months is absolutely ridiculous. So thank you very much. The same goes for Aman, for OK, Lavonier, George, Alex, Farhad, Mats, Gabriel, Bestie, Julio Peña, I'm going to try not to butcher any names, by the way, Nothama, Diego, Robstars, the Great Aditya, Bruno, Eric. Then we got more here, Ananda, Sergi. I'm getting tired of just listing the amount of people here. So like I said, thank you very much for this support. I'm just losing my mind here. Beer Can, Abhishek, and Kat. And a huge shout out goes to Kat as well, who is also a patron and a channel member. So thank you very much. And the patrons I also want to give a shout out includes Ben Lockett, and the other ones also include Lovro Zuvic and Keith, who is also a patron there as well. At one point, we easily hit over 50 plus members, and we're looking to get to similar targets this season. So thank you very much for those of you that have supported the channel even further, and those that are subscribing, smashing the like button, and pushing us up in the algorithm. Foden will be playing, so save your transfer, says Laura. I'll keep an eye on that. I do apologize if I'm not able to get all the latest kind of team news and stuff, because I'm kind of really busy with your questions. But if you do see anything on Twitter, be sure to let me know and I'll have a look and we can talk about the latest news together. John says, Dylan, does Badiashili's impending return put you off Colwill? A little bit, but I still think Colwill will start, and I actually think the best centre-back partnership long term will be Colwill and Badiashile. The problem is you've also got Thiago Silva as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea sometimes opted for a back three, especially in bigger games, and you could see Colwill, Badiashile, and Thiago Silva all starting at the same time. I'm doing well, Sanjay. What about you? Thank you very much for asking. Does the price changes reset once the game week starts? No. The price changes now are pretty much dynamic all the time. So what you just saw there, after the deadline passes, those players will surely go up in price, especially in Boomer, who is very popular. Nelson says Salah's a must-have. I think this week in isolation, yes, but I wouldn't say he is in the next few weeks overall. I like Salah a lot. I would love to have him in my team, but I don't think he's essential or a must-have. Son being on that expected points ranking is a joke. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I didn't agree with the full list. I think having Haaland and Salah top two is what I would have gone for, maybe a different order. I think Saka and Watkins being quite high up is also quite fair. Luis Diaz and Trent. But yeah, I think the United and Spurs assets, I'd probably put them down a little bit. I think the goals will be shared between all of those assets. And I think Son might score, but you know, he's had a pretty torrid time over the last year. Who is the best Liverpool midfield option under 9 million? It's difficult to say. I think Jota's still the most appealing for me because he's playing up front. Diaz was very impressive with his overall performance and he topped it off with a goal against Chelsea, but I think Jota's still first, then it would be Diaz. Nowhere near the potent play he once was. I agree, that is true. Let's see what else we have. The chat is very busy today. Thank you, John. As always, you know, you contribute to this channel quite a lot, not just with, you know, the subscriptions, but also with all the comments, so thank you very much. Karen says, is it worth bringing in Maddison for Fernandes this game week to avoid the price rise and get ahead of the pack? Not a bad shout, but I would say no, because you still can get to Maddison next week, because if Maddison goes up in price as expected, there is a 0.9 million price difference in your favour. So whilst that might not be, you know, ideal and that might cost you from another move, I still would probably just hold off and make the move after the deadline at least. That's what I would do. And I think Fernandes is worth keeping for Game Week 3. And then after that, you could sell. Vishal says, I have Gabriel and Enciso. What should I do? Should I transfer both or only one? I would rather transfer out Enciso and keep Gabriel. So that would be my answer there. With Enciso, he was starting a lot of games at the back end of last season, but that might not be the case this time round. Funnily enough, he might start in Game Week 2, and it might be Solly March making way, but it will be an issue long term. He's not going to start most games, unfortunately. John, thank you very much as well. The plan is to get to 19,000 subscribers and then look to push beyond towards 20,000. And we are getting very close towards the 19k mark. Start Mbumo or Joao Pedro? Great question. I probably would favour Mbumo. They're both on penalties, but I just see Mbumo more as a talismanic figure than Joao Pedro. Good to see you, John, and welcome back to you as well. Junior says start to Maddison, Fernandes or Jackson. Great question. I would start Jackson and I probably would go for Fernandes, I think, but really close call. And I like Maddison more than Fernandes long term. Chance to start for DCL? Not too sure about that. Either way, I wouldn't recommend DCL or any Everton outfield asset. To be quite frank, I just would stay clear, but I'm not so sure how likely he is to start in the next game. Should I start Akanji or Mbumo? I would go for Mbumo, higher ceiling there. Who should I replace Danilo with? Tell me what your budget is and I'll try to give you a better answer. But if you have 6.5 million, I would definitely look at the likes of Mbumo and Mitoma, I think. Hey Dylan, I have Jackson, Joao Pedro, Eze. Start 2, I'd probably bench Eze there, but he is still a quality player. I think he's Crystal Palace's best player for sure. Who to captain? Haaland, Watkins, or Saka? I'm captaining Haaland, but I think Watkins is the most interesting from a differential perspective. And if I were to go different and go away from the Haaland captaincy, I think that's where I might go, actually. You know what? I think I might put the vice captaincy on Watkins. I have had Saka all week, and it is a close call. But yeah, I think Haaland, if you just want to play it safe, and Watkins, if you want to go a bit different. But I have to say, it is a really close call for me. And yeah, the vice captaincy, I haven't paid it too much for it, to be fair, but I probably would put Watkins just ahead of Saka. I think so. James to Chilwell or Henry? I'd rather go to Chilwell. I'd say for the next 5 game weeks, Chelsea have the best fixtures. Chilwell has the highest ceiling, so that's the way I would go. Made a panic switch from Stones to Akanji. Onana's hauling, isn't he? I'm not so sure. I think Onana could do fairly well even if he concedes. He can get 3-4 points for reasons that we already know. As for Stones to Akanji, that could be a decent move, but I'm still fearful about Man City defender rotation. H. Anthony says, who to bench for Mbumo, Pedro and Jackson? I probably would bench Joao Pedro, just the way I think the game's going to go. I would start Mbumo and Jackson, but really close calls here, and I'll probably end up contradicting myself quite a lot on this stream, and I do apologise if that's the case. I'll try not to, of course. But some of these decisions are honestly 50-50. What to do if the only issue with my team is De Bruyne? I think it's worth selling him. If you've got a really good option on your bench, you know, someone like Aston Villa defender at home to Everton, then you could afford to wait another week to sell De Bruyne. But because he's out for such a long time and there are so many midfielders to go to, making a move now isn't the worst thing. I think there's pros and cons. I think being a bit more patient might give you a bit more information, and you might be a bit more confident about your De Bruyne replacement. But yeah, it's an interesting one, I think. I think De Bruyne is obviously going to be the big thing to worry about and to replace, but you don't necessarily have to do it right now, if you catch my drift. Haaland to start tomorrow, quick turnaround might lead to sub. Oh, I think he'll start, there's no doubt about it. Man City can't afford to drop points this early on. Of course, they've done it in years gone by and still won the league, but you know, with all the injury problems they have, I just don't really see it making sense for them to, you know, bench someone of Haaland's caliber against Newcastle, by the way, who are one of the best teams in the league, and then ultimately drop points potentially. So I think Haaland will start, but maybe come off a bit earlier, especially if Man City are leading. Welcome, Jay. My first tune-in for the season. Thanks in advance, Dylan, for all you do. Looking forward to a great season. Likewise, Jay. Hopefully you do well. And thank you very much for the shout-out. Hedge says, should I replace Gabriel or Trippier? Despite Newcastle looking very good in Game Week 1, I would rather replace Trippier because he's 1.5 million more expensive than Gabriel, worse fixtures, and obviously Man City up next and then Liverpool. I think it's a sell for me, at least for the time being. You can always get Trippier back around Game Week 4 or 5. Start Ramsdale or Turner. I'd go for Turner this week, to be fair. Foden to Diaby, I like that move. If we get confirmation of Foden starting, then I would maybe wait another week, but ultimately that's the move I'd look to do. Is Eze to Diaby good? I think so. I like Eze a lot. I think he might be the most, or should I say the highest scoring 6.5 midfielder by the end of the season. But with the fixtures coming up, I think there are better options for the short to medium term, like Mbumo, Mitoma, and Diaby. Thank you, H. Anthony. Elanga in, Joao Pedro on the bench. No, I would just start Joao Pedro. I'm assuming, yeah, you're on about Elanga, who got the assist against Arsenal. It was a fantastic run. He made an impact as soon as he came on the pitch, but I would start Joao Pedro. JP says, best 1 week punt for Liverpool, not Salah. Who would you sell to get Salah? I think my 1 week punt would be Jota. Of course, it's always going to be a bit of a problem to guess who's going to start, and Jota could still be benched, but if he gets the start, he is my favourite. Then it's Diaz. 4 million in the bank, Odegaard or Fernandes? I would rather sell Odegaard, I think. It's a close call. During pre-season, Odegaard got 2 assists. Fernandes got 1. Or should I say he scored a goal against Arsenal. I think Fernandes' Game Week 3 fixture against Nottingham Forest makes him worth keeping. And with Odegaard, he's playing so well, but he is kind of the creator of the team. And I just don't see him scoring 15 goals like he did last season. Play Colwill or Gabriel? I'd play Gabriel this week, yeah. Start Gabriel Henry. I would also go for Gabriel. I'm not that bullish on an Arsenal clean sheet, but I think they have a better chance than Chelsea and In the other case, it was Brentford. Start Jackson or Pedro and Gabriel or Colwill. I would start Jackson this week and Gabriel. Good midfielder option under 6.3 million. Let's have a quick look here, just to refresh my memory as well, to be honest. I haven't looked too much into the sub 6.3 million midfielders, but there will be some names in here for sure. So let's get to midfielders. Here we go. Okay, so 6.5 million midfielders. Yeah, it is a bit of a tricky one. Looking down this list, I'm not really too pleased with the options, but if I had to go for one, I do apologize for taking a bit long with this, I think Gibbs White is one of my favourite ones. Yeah, I'd say Nottingham Forest midfielder would catch my eye, and Gibbs White is my favourite. Even against Arsenal, he had some moments of magic, and he had a great summer with the England under-21s winning the tournament, being one of the best players, and also a great end to the season. So unless I'm mistaking some, I think Enzo's another one who, especially with Caicedo coming in, he could play a bit more further forward and he could become a good FPL asset. But right now, I would say Morgan Gibbs White is my favourite. Let me know if you disagree or if there's anyone else that I may have missed. Do you think Gabriel will start? Yes, I think so, but it's not a guarantee, and that's my issue with Man City defenders. We back a clean sheet on the first game of the week. Potentially. If I actually get the record up, because it's something I mentioned at the beginning of this stream. So, in terms of the head-to-head, Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United have played each other recently. So, if we look towards the 2022 season, so 2021-22 season, in 3 occasions they played each other. So, Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest drew 1-1 at Sheffield United. And they also had another meeting at their ground, at Sheffield United's ground, and it was a 2-1 victory to Forest. And the last home meeting for Nottingham Forest was a 2-1 win for Sheffield United, but Nottingham Forest went through on penalties, I think it was. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. I think Forest might struggle here against Sheffield United, but the reason why I'm going for Turner is because the fixture looks appealing on paper, and I also think Sheffield United have lost too many key players, like Ndiaye up front, Sander Berg in the midfield, and they also have a few injury problems. Baldock is suspected to have an injury issue, and Nottingham Forest, I think, have improved since they last faced Sheffield United. So that's why I'm going for Turner over Onana, but I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed clean sheet. Which player to bench out of Mitoma, Pedro, and Bruno? Quite rightly so. I think it's kind of a difficult one to call. If Wolves play like they did against Man United, then starting both Mitoma and Joao Pedro could be an issue. But I think I would bench Bruno Fernandes there. I think he's got the lowest ceiling of the 3, but really close call. I probably wouldn't do that, Genius Gamer, simply because of rotation. If I had to pick a Man City defender right now, it probably would be either Ake or Akanji. And once we see Gavardiol kind of get consistent run of starts, and we're quite confident he's going to start the vast majority of games, which I think he will, then he might become the #1 pick at 5 million. So I think as a long-term investment, if you want to go for one, I think Gavardiol would be my pick, but I would keep Gabriel, to be fair. I want to say you're absolutely crazy, but it is something different. I haven't seen that today. I wouldn't do it myself, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all. Cash or Gabriel, says Mohammed. You know what? I probably would go for Cash there. Twan says, hey Dylan, is it important to replace Timber now? I have Shaw, Estupinian and Chilwell and 1 bench player defender. I probably would. Ideally, I wouldn't start Luke Shaw against Tottenham, who I think will score. So I think selling Timber to... I think now you have 4.9 million or below available. Even to Rico Henry is a viable choice, and Rico Henry has some good long-term fixtures. Aditya says bench Gabriel, Akanji, Chukwuemeka, Chilwell, Estupinian, Baldock, my other defenders. Yeah, that looks pretty good. As for Baldock, there is a bit of a concern about him. He might not start today, and I also wouldn't back Sheffield United for the clean sheet, so I would start either Gabriel or Akanji over Baldock. The rest looks pretty fine. I was thinking about Enzo or maybe Kovacic for 5 million. I would rather go for Enzo, but Kovacic is not a bad shout. He sometimes has these, maybe good runs of form where he can get 2 goals in 4 games. I think he did that a few years ago, but he's not something long-term. I think Enzo Fernandez could be, you know, someone who was never considered as an FPL option and suddenly become one of the best cheap options in the midfield. So I think Enzo's definitely a shout. I already have Martinelli, Saka, Rashford and Bruno. Yeah, so from those two, Enzo will be my pick. Eze to Mbumo, Diaby, or roll the transfer. I think long-term, my favourite option there would be Mbumo. I like Diaby. I recommended him in my transfer tips video, but Mbumo is even better. Yeah, I think Gabriel will start their hedge. Play two out of Maddison, Mitoma, Martinelli. I would start Martinelli and Mitoma. Luis says, tengo a Gabriel y lo quiero cambiar por Saliba, pero quedo en menos 0.1. ¿Crees que sea momento de gastar dos transferencias? No, no lo haría en este momento porque eso sería un -4 y no creo que vale la pena. Para mí, Gabriel va a entrar al equipo de nuevo, así que yo mantendría a Gabriel y espero hasta la jornada 3 por lo menos para hacer esa transferencia. Yep, I think Gabriel will start, Ahmed. Welcome, Keenan. Have a bit of a dilemma. Can't decide between Onana and Turner. What I like about Onana, and one thing he has over Turner, is his high ceiling, I think. Now, Turner made 5 saves against Arsenal. He played pretty well. But I think Onana will get more bonus points in general. And looking at both games, I think Onana will make more saves. So if they both concede, you would give the edge to Onana. But when the clean sheet probability also comes into play, you would definitely give Turner the edge in that regard. And for me, I think Turner will outscore Onana this week, and I would go for Turner. Simply because I think if I had to say yes or no, I think Nottingham Forest will keep a clean sheet this time round against Sheffield United, but it's not a guarantee. Sell Shaw for Chilwell, yes, I think that is a good move. Now, the problem with that as well is that Shaw plays Nottingham Forest at home in Gameweek 3, but Chilwell plays Luton Town at home. So I think it's still a good long-term move, and I'd rather have Chilwell at this moment in time. Yeah, Goldhead, I think that's a great shout. Kyle Brown says, I have Stones and Gabriel. What should I do? Keep Gabriel, sell Stones, who is almost definitely missing Game Week 2, according to Guardiola. So yeah, Stones sell, and I don't know which defenders you have already, but I'd sell Stones. Should I play a double Man United midfield, Bruno and Rashford, or should I just play one of them and Pinnock in defence as well? I'd play both Man United midfielders. I think Brentford will concede. Having said that, the likes of Rico Henry is still capable of getting some attacking returns, so I wouldn't mind starting him because of that, but I would definitely go for the Man United midfielders. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of Gabriel questions, so obviously I don't want to go over this too much, but I think Gabriel will start, and I've said this all week. Should I transfer out Lisandro Martinez? Yeah, I'm not so sure if he's ruled out definitively for Game Week 2. Let me know if he is, but he is a doubt, that's for sure. And that could be a huge blow for Man United. So, yeah, I would transfer out Lisandro Martinez if you can. I think there are much better options, even around his price. I would go for Salah captain there, Pradipto. I mean, do I play Gabriel and Chukwuemeka or Gabriel and Akanji? I would go for Gabriel and Akanji. I bench Bruno, start Wilson. I wouldn't start Callum Wilson against Man City, so I would start Bruno Fernandes. Yes, FPL Glory, I am. I try to, make sure that doesn't, how do I say this, maybe cloud my judgment, especially in regards to FPL assets, but yes, I am. Maxim says, should I sell Stones now for a bench player? I have Chilwell, Estupiñán and Saliba starting. I think it's worth it, yes. It's kind of a similar case to a few other questions we had, such as Kevin De Bruyne and a few other cases, because Stones has gone down in price already, I think. And some of the players you want might go up in price soon. So, yeah, I think it is worth selling Stones. But if you're not going to start that player you're bringing in anyway, like Rico Henry, then you can always wait for the deadline to pass and then have 2 free transfers going into Game Week 3. So, yeah, I'd probably just keep Stones for now and then sell him ahead of Game Week 3. That would be my definitive answer for your situation. Hi, Dylan. Would you start Foden or Pedro? If we get confirmation of Foden starting, that's a big if, then I would go for Foden. Welcome, Lager. Always a pleasure. Aditya says, yeah, I answered that already. I would go for Gabriel and Akanji. That's already answered. Jeff says, hey, who to start out of Shaw, Colwell or Pau Torres? Got Saliba and Estupiñán starting. I would go for Pau Torres. I think he has the best chance of a clean sheet, despite what we saw in Game Week 1. He was the most advanced player for Chelsea, but he is not my favourite option. When I'm looking at Chelsea, I think Chilwell is definitely the standout. Then you're looking at Jackson, and I'd say Sanchez/Colwell. I think that's kind of my top 4 Chelsea players at the moment. Sterling could be an option in the future, but I just don't think I don't think it's worth going for him over Mbumo, over all these other 6.5 to 7.5 million options as well. I wouldn't mind that value, to be fair. I wouldn't mind that as an Arsenal fan. Thoughts on Gabriel? I think he comes back into the side, especially if Zinchenko is back into the starting 11. So, yeah, I have no concerns about Gabriel personally. Thoughts on Diaz? I still need a bit more convincing. Look, I rate him as a player. I think he's one of Liverpool's best. But in terms of FPL credentials, I still think Jota is more likely to get goals and assists. But I like Diaz. And if you're looking to bring in a midfielder this week, there aren't many better than Diaz for me. Bench 1, Mitoma, Pedro, or Mbumo. I probably would bench Joao Pedro there if I had to pick one. AI is suggesting Bruno to Son for higher points. Not for me. Because even if Son outscores Bruno this week, which could happen, in Gameweek 3, I think Bruno does really well against Nottingham Forest, and I would just rather have Bruno Fernandes. I think he's a more consistent asset than Heung-min Son. Hi Dylan, why you pick Watkins over Bruno, Saka, Rashford as vice-captain? To be quite honest, over Saka, it's kind of a 50-50 coin toss. It's just because of the fixture, and I think Arsenal are less likely to score 2+ goals than Aston Villa are this week. As for Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, I don't see them having a high ceiling against Tottenham. I think it could be a high-scoring game, but it's not like I expect Rashford or Bruno to get 2+ goals or, a really high score to warrant the captaincy or vice-captaincy. So that's my explanation for that. I think Watkins will score more points than Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. As for Saka, it's a really close call. Start Jackson or Pedro? I would go for Jackson there. An interesting point, Chelsea's 3 new midfielders, is how they will all fit in. Yeah, exactly. If they play all at the same time, Lavia and Caicedo will be the more defensive-minded of the two, or of the 3, and Enzo Fernandez will have more liberties to attack like he did at Benfica, and at one stage River Plate as well. So, yeah, I mentioned it before. For me, Enzo Fernandez could become an FPL option in the future. He had a really good performance against Liverpool, probably man of the match alongside Chilwell, and I think Fernandes could make a mockery of his price tag. But for the time being, I still prefer other Chelsea assets, but he could certainly become a really good option in the future. Welcome, Cohen. What to do with Ruben Diaz? Probably sell. He has a bit of a doubt this week, and look, he could still start and get a clean sheet against Newcastle, but I think there are just better options in the long term in terms of bonus points, goal contributions, clean sheets, because I think Ruben Diaz will have the odd, benching here and there. So I think it is worth selling Ruben Diaz. Colwill or Estupinian? Estupinian. Start Chukwuemeka or Henry? I'd go for Rico Henry. Luis says, no es necesario utilizar ninguno de los tres. Bench boost, triple captain o free hit en esta jornada, ¿correcto? Depende de tu equipo, pero para mí es mejor utilizar esos chips más tarde en la temporada. Start Wissa or Mitoma? I would start... That's a great question. I think I'd give the edge to Wissa there. Thoughts on Foden? If we get confirmation that he's starting, I would just stick with him for now. But long term, I would definitely sell him to Mbumo. So it just all depends if we get a leak, which I'm not so sure we will because the Man City game is tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So I'm not so sure about that. I think changing him to Mbumo is just a good long-term move. So even if it doesn't pay off this week, it will pay off in the long term for me. I would go for Salah captain. Hi Dylan, start 2, Mitoma, Mbumo, Pedro. I would go for Mbumo and Mitoma. Let's actually get the poll out because there are a lot of similar questions such as Gabriel, what do I think will happen there? As I've said a few times, I think he will start, so I have no concerns about him. And also about the captaincy, and for me, it is worth going for Salah over Erling Haaland this week. And I'm going to bring out the poll, which I put out earlier today, and it's actually extremely close. So let's go now to my YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and you can also see all of these polls that I put out. So vote for the best Game Week 2 captain, and I did say if you have anyone else in mind, be sure to comment it down in the comment section. Salah is actually just behind Erling Haaland, but it is honestly such a close battle, and they make up 90% of the vote. Just Salah and Haaland alone, Saka with only 4%, and Watkins with 6% of the vote. Let's actually take a look at the comment section and see what people are saying. So Luis Diaz, someone said, I like that. Jackson, watch out, says Rex. Dominic says Mbumo's my dark horse. I like that. Joao Pedro says PC or Principal, I think it is. And Ollie Watkins says, hi Dylan, okay, there's a question. Should I put Rico Henry or Mati Cash in for Lisandro Martinez? My answer would be Rico Henry. Even though I think Aston Villa have a better chance of a clean sheet this week, I would go for Rico Henry. So Actually, just answer it quickly, just in case he's not watching. So Rico Henry, long term, cash. I mean, to be honest, I'm just going to say Rico Henry. I think that's just a simple answer, but it is genuinely what I think. I think Matty Cash is more likely to get a return this week, but Rico Henry for me. And the other question, or the other comment is, I'm captaining Estupinian. That's a very bold pick. The last time Brighton played Wolves, it was a 6-0 victory, and I think Estupinian got 9 points overall. I think he got a clean sheet and an assist, and just about missed out on the bonus points. Let's wait and see what happens there. So I'll keep this poll out for a little bit longer. Be sure to vote there as well. So just go over to my community tab, and you will see it. Let's get back to your questions as well. We have over 140 people watching. Let's try to get this stream to over 150 likes. We can definitely do that. So if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Has to be Salah, says JP. I think he is the best captaincy option this week. So I probably agree. It's a close because most people don't own Salah. Yeah, maybe so. That's probably a big reason why. Is there any chance Haaland will be benched? Really, really slim chance. For me, he will come off earlier, so around 70-80 minutes, especially if Man City are 2-0 up, but I think he'll start. I just don't have any concerns about that. Start Jackson or Pedro? I would start Jackson. Start 2, says James. Jackson, Udogi, I think it is. Shaw, Eze. I would start Jackson and Eze. I would favour the attackers. What do you think of Disasi? Scored in his debut. Pretty decent performance, but I think there are better Chelsea assets. I think to cover them defensively, Chilwell's the best, then Colwill and Sanchez in goal. I think Disasi for $500,000 more isn't worth that extra 0.5 million. Eze or João Pedro? This week, João Pedro. Long-term, Eze is my pick. Twan says, hey Dylan, please start free. Shaw, Estupinian, Chilwell, and Rico Henry. So basically bench 1. I would bench Shaw. Brinia says, I'm playing Henry over Gabriel for safer minutes. Fair enough. I think Gabriel isn't a concern for me. I know a lot of people are having that concern after Gameweek 1, but that's fair enough. And I think Rico Henry has more, at least assist for it. So good luck with you as well. Let's see what happens. What do you think about Saka captain? From those in my squad, in my 50-man squad, I think he's in the top 3 for sure. But I do prefer Haaland and potentially Ollie Watkins as well. No, I don't think so, Gazno, but let me know what you see. And also anyone else, if you see any kind of rumours or leaks, be sure to let me know and we can cover it on this channel. Colwill or Henry as the Stones replacement? Henry for me. I don't mind the Colwill one, even to double up on Chelsea defensively, but I prefer Henry. Bench 1, Gabriel, Shaw, Foden, says even Baker. I would bench Shaw. Is there any chance Haaland will be benched? Not, like I said, very slim chance, but I don't think he will. I just don't have a concern about that, personally. Welcome, Sky Blue. Who should I start, Jackson or Pedro? I would start Jackson. Edge says start João Pedro or Mitoma. I would go for Mitoma. Some questions have been answered already, so if it is skipped, I do apologise, but it is because we've covered it already. Transfer Mitoma to Diaby. Not yet. I think it is a good move overall, and over the next 5-6 game weeks, I think Diaby outscores Mitoma, but over the next 2, I think it's very close. Turner for me, Mac. Turner. Is Henry a good replacement for James? Yes, I think so. Got Chilwell, Estupinian starting. Other 3 defenders are Gabriel, Kabore, and Stones. What would you do? Roll or maybe go Stones to Henry, Colwill, or maybe even Gusto? I personally would go for Henry, and I would start Gabriel, have Henry, first on your bench, and see what happens. And if Gabriel is benched yet again, then he could definitely be a sell going into Game Week 3 or 4. Martinelli or Odegaard? I prefer Martinelli. Mitoma or Martinelli to start, says Atraf. I would go for Martinelli. Jackson or Mbumo? That's a really close call, but I would go for Mbumo there. Tempted to do an early differential. Let me just get this up because the question did get lost. So Jason said, tempted to do an early differential captain. Just have a feeling Haaland won't get points this game. That's completely fair enough. If you don't think he'll score or do well, then I think going for someone like Watkins could definitely be the play there. It's 2 a.m. my time. I really need to sleep. Do I keep or sell Gabriel? I would keep Gabriel. I can understand if you've got Gabriel, Stones, and then a Kabore who blanks, you might be in a bigger situation there where you could potentially be down to 10 men or 10 plus the 1 point by Gabriel, which isn't ideal. So I can understand your frustrations or concerns, but I would keep Gabriel for now. Shaw is not on set pieces anymore. I still think he'll be on some set pieces. I know Mason Mount and Fernandes will take the vast majority of them. Eriksen as well when he's on the pitch, but I still think Shaw can take some. Hi Dylan, is Rico Henry playing attacking wing-back? Yes, if you saw him against Tottenham, he was the most advanced wing-back in the game, which includes Udogie, should I say, and also all the other fullbacks in that match. So I would go for him. I think if you're looking for a 4-point family defender, Turner or Sanchez this game week? Turner. Gabriel out for Colwill or Disasi? Neither for me, honestly. I would keep Gabriel, but if you're absolutely set on the move, that's your opinion, that's your team and decision, I would rather go for Colwill. Who should I replace Trippier with? I don't know what your team is, but obviously Estupinian, Chilwell are the two standouts in defence at the moment, and then I would say Saliba and Rico Henry. Those are my 4 favourites at the moment. What are your thoughts about Gabriel? I think long-term he'll be the most nailed on alongside Ruben Diaz, but he will still be benched from time to time. I know you have Henry, but Spurs fixtures could be good for Udogie. Yes, I think so. I just don't trust Spurs defensively as much as I trust Brentford, which might sound strange because they drew 2-2 in the game. And also during pre-season, it isn't like Brentford were great defensively, but I still think they are better and more defensively organised than Tottenham Hotspur. Will triple captaining Salah be a waste? I wouldn't say it's a waste, but I wouldn't do it this week because, I mean, I'm not so sure how much we should look into it, but Salah, I don't think has ever scored in Game Week 2. I think he will this time, but I just don't think... I think there will be better opportunities later in the season with double game weeks and also Haaland having a plum fixture at home where that triple captaincy will give you more points overall. Do I keep Haaland, Watkins, and Joao Pedro on my team or swap them with Rashford or Maddison from the bench? I would personally start Rashford over Joao Pedro. I would definitely not bench Haaland or Watkins, though. Don't even consider it, in my opinion. Aston Villa versus Everton score prediction. I'm going for a 2-0 Aston Villa win, I think. It's either that or 2-1. I don't think there'll be many goals in it, but I think Aston Villa score 2 or more. Akanji or Cash for this game week? Matty Cash. Bench Bruno or Martinelli for Diaby? Bruno Fernandes. Just to make it clear, I would bench Bruno Fernandes there. Sky Blue says, do you think I should bench one of Mbeumo, Bruno or Rashford for Pedro? Maybe Bruno Fernandes for Joao Pedro, but you don't necessarily have to. Do you think Salah will be benched after last week? You never know, to be fair, but I think he'll be back in the starting lineup and do extremely well. And he is the player I'm most fearful about this week. Got Timber for Gabriel and got 0. Now I bought Cash for Timber. He is very attacking with easy fixtures. Your thoughts? I like him a lot in Game Week 2, and Aston Villa have some good fixtures, especially, I think there's a period from Game Week 5 or 6 onwards where they've got some plum fixtures back-to-back. But yeah, I like Cash's attacking potential. Aston Villa should definitely shore up defensively after the fiasco in Game Week 1. They're not going to play Newcastle every week, so I like that transfer. Whilst Cash is my favourite 4-point family defender, it's a good acquisition. Start Pedro, Mitoma or Mbeumo. Mbeumo for me. Chilwell captain. From defenders, I think it would be Trent Alexander-Arnold first, Chilwell second, and Estupinian third this week. So I don't mind it, but I think there are better captaincy options overall. Abraham says, I have Barnes starting. Should I take a hit for James and get a defender in for Barnes in the starting 11? Probably. Harvey Barnes is a good asset. Even just coming on for 11 minutes, he got a goal and assist against Aston Villa. But facing Man City, I just don't see him doing that well. So I would bring in a defender there. Which one to bench from Darwin, Bruno, Martinelli, Mbeumo and Rashford? Probably Bruno Fernandes for me. Thank you, Akash. I appreciate it, and good luck this week. Let's see what else we have. So, KA7 Lancy says, my team is Onana, Gabriel, Trippier, Henry, Rashford, Salah, Martinelli, Baptiste, Rice, Pedro, Haaland on the bench. I have Shaw, Botman, Mabama, and Leno. Any suggestions? In terms of your goalkeepers, I think I'd still start Onana. So that's not a bad shout. I think in terms of your defenders, yeah, I also agree. Gabriel, Trippier, Henry is the way to go. However, Baptiste, not sure about that. Declan Rice, I think he could be a great signing for Arsenal. He's already played well in the Community Shield final and against Nottingham Forest, but yes, he will score more goals than he did, for West Ham, and he had chances to score in Game Week 1, but I wouldn't have him in FPL. I simply wouldn't. So I think Rice is one to sell, and Baptiste. I think those are two weak links in your starting 11. I know they also enable you to have Salah and Haaland, but I'm not so sure if it's worth it in this case. So Baptiste and Rice, for me, should be upgraded. Milner says, hi Dylan, should I start Eze over Estupinian, Mitoma, Rashford, Bruno, or Henry, or even Gabriel? I think the ones to start Eze over, if you were to do that, is Bruno or Gabriel. Sorry. I'd say Bruno, Henry, or Gabriel. I think I would start Eze. I think I'd start him over Gabriel, just because you don't want that clash. If you didn't have Eze, then it's a really tricky one, I think, with Crystal Palace Arsenal, because I think Palace could score, but I don't see them scoring more than one, in my opinion. I could be wrong. They have battered Arsenal in the past. There are doubts about Gabriel starting, which I don't share. I think he will start. But I think in your team situation, I think it might be worth starting Eze over Gabriel. What do I do if I have Onana and Areola? Good question. I think I'd start Onana still. Why Henry over Shaw? What is the reason? I just don't see Man United keeping a clean sheet. And whilst Brentford, aren't the most likely this week, I still think they have a better chance than Man United. And also, Rico Henry was far more impressive than Luke Shaw in Game Week 1. So I would favour Rico Henry. Luis Diaz for Rashford. No, because Rashford plays Nottingham Forest in Game Week 3. So I don't think it's worth it. Captain Trent. I think amongst defenders, he's the best defender to captain. But I'm not so sure I would do that because I have a feeling Bournemouth could score. Milner says, hi Dylan, shall I start Eze over Stupiniani? We've covered. Hi Dylan, bench Odegaard for Colwill? No. I'd start Odegaard. Take out Bruno. I'm looking to take him out around Game Week 4 or 5, but I would keep him for now. Following up on my question, what defender would you bring in? I already have Saliba, Estupinian, Pau Torres, and a doggy. I don't remember exactly what your question was because it probably was a few minutes ago. I think you said I have Barnes starting. Should I take a hit for James? Oh, yeah, because you said to take a hit for James, which isn't ideal. I wouldn't take a hit. I honestly wouldn't take a hit. As much as I don't like starting Barnes against City, I don't think taking a hit is worth it for a defender this week unless you're bringing in a Trent, a Chilwell, or a Stupinian. And since you've got... unless you can bring in Chilwell, Abraham, I wouldn't take a hit. That's my final answer then. So if you can get Chilwell, bring him in for a hit. If you can't, then just stick with Barnes and have him play against Man City. Backing Eze to score? I think so. He's a quality player, and even if he doesn't score, he can get an assist. I think he will be involved in anything Palace do. Rodri or Harry Wilson? From those two, I prefer Rodri. Gusto, I think for a 4 million defender, he could be a decent option now. He's not going to be as good as Reece James, let's make that quite clear. But for a 4 million defender, he could offer tremendous value playing for Chelsea week in, week out. What do I do with Harry Maguire? Just don't have Harry Maguire in general, to be fair. He's not going to start many games. Hey, mate, how are you? Salah or Haaland for captain? I would go for Salah. All right, Dylan, how are we tempted to captain Watkins? For some reason, the message glitched on my screen. Let's see if it pops up here. Oh, it's because of the emoji. They're scared to go against Haaland. Thoughts? Well, the thing is, honestly, I can understand what you're saying because Haaland's effective ownership will be lower than usual, but it still will be high. You would guess around 120, 130%. Honestly, just ask yourself, do you think Watkins, has a high ceiling this week? And you might be saying yes to yourself. And also, do you think Watkins will outscore Haaland? And if the answer is yes, go for Watkins. I think Haaland will still score once or twice against Newcastle, and I'm expecting Man City to win the game. That's why I'm going for him. But I really like the Ollie Watkins captaincy this week. Would you sell Bruno to Salah? If you can do it for free this week, then yes, I would. But if it's for a -4, then probably not, because Bruno has Nottingham Forest next week. Watkins captain, I like it. He's my vice captain at the moment, and I'm still considering going for him. Best wildcard team. I'll probably cover this in a video very, very soon. But some drafts I was making, just to have ready as well. So I had one wildcard draft with Salah. And it basically is Turner and Onana as the goalkeepers. Saliba, Rico Henry, Estupinian, Chilwell, and Gusto if you are looking to go there. If you are a bit unsure about Gusto, then you can go for another 4 million defender like Baldock. Diaby, Saka, Mbeumo, Maddison, and Salah as the midfield 5. Jackson, Haaland, and Osula as the front 3. And I think it's quite obvious who to bench here. Osula would definitely be on the bench, and Gusto. And the third one on the bench here would be Rico Henry, and you would start Turner over Onana. Now, if you don't go for the Salah route, and you're wildcarding this week, I have the same goalkeepers: Saliba, Henry, Stupinian, Chilwell, and a 4 million defender like Gusto. So same defence. But the midfield is Martinelli, Saka, Mbeumo, Maddison, and Rashford. So Rashford and Martinelli come in here. And the front 3 is Watkins, Haaland, and Joao Pedro. So you might have some benching headaches with this team, but you're also well set up for the future and in terms of team value. So those are 2 good wildcard squads, both very similar, with 3 or 4 changes in between. Paqueta getting breach allegations, says Seb. Yeah, I saw that the deal was collapsing, but I wasn't aware of what you just said. Sell Shaw or Richarlison? I'd rather sell Richarlison in general. He could become a good FPL asset in the future, and he is a differential, but I'd rather go for Maddison anyway from Spurs midfielders. Do Timber to Gusto this week or roll? Yeah, I'd roll. Just have more options next week, and if Gusto goes up in price, so be it. Of course, the main issue would be Timber going down, I guess. Sell KDB to Salah and Haaland to Watkins? No. Simply no. I don't... it's a good idea, I can understand why you're doing it, and I think this week the Salah-Watkins duo will outscore, but long-term I think Haaland is just... he's essential, unfortunately. I think you have to have him, so... Look, if you are still set on it, then go for it. Don't let me talk you out of it, but I personally wouldn't do it. Diaz captain or Haaland? Haaland for me. Start Henry over Bruno Rashford? No. I'm going for both over Henry. Plans for Salah post this game week? Not really. This is the main week I'd want him for. I'm mainly looking later on towards game week 6, game week 5 to bring in Salah. So not yet. Should we transfer out Mitoma and take Diaby? I don't think so. Yes, Diaby might outscore Mitoma this week. I would back him too. But in game week 3, I'd probably then give the edge to Mitoma again. Henry or Gabriel to start? Gabriel. Roy says Stones to Chilwell or Disasi? Chilwell all day long. I think there's a huge difference between Chilwell and the rest of the Chelsea defenders. Excuse me. Maddison or Eze? I like Eze a lot, but Maddison. I think Maddison is more likely to score points, should I say, in Game Week 2, and also better fixtures over the next 5 to 6. So I would go for Maddison. Hi Dylan, I'm captaining Rashford and saving a transfer. Fair enough. I'll make early transfers during the game week. I think Spurs are poor defensively, but I am quite surprised by that. Start Bruno or Jackson? Jackson. Do I double up on Chelsea defence by selling Gabriel for James? Reece James has picked up an injury. It's confirmed by Chelsea. He picked it up in training. And I've always said this about James. Yes, on his day he's good and he has a lot of potential, but he just can't stay fit. So no, I definitely wouldn't. If you have Onana and Shaw, would you start one of them or bench them both? Depends who your other goalkeeper is and your other defenders, honestly. But if you've got good options on your bench, I would probably say bench both Onana and Shaw for me. Maddison or Eze? Maddison. Sell Gabriel or keep? Keep. Which two to start between Mbeumo, Foden and Joao Pedro Cicidindra? I would start Mbeumo, and if we get confirmation of Foden starting, I would go for him. If we don't, that's a bit trickier, but I think I'd still go for him just in case. I think Saka away to Palace will outscore Mr. Robot. Possible, but I'm not so sure. Start Shaw, Udogie or Eze? Eze. I think Wolves could actually take their win against Brighton. Yeah, or even a draw. I think it's definitely possible. Nobody, we have answered your question. Try not to spam the chat, please. Simon says necessary to bring in Tottenham assets. Not necessary, but I think Maddison is looking really good. Of course, it's only one game, but he had a very similar game in pre-season where he kind of got our attention, and I was mentioning him. He was in my preliminary draft. Unfortunately, I didn't go through with it. Mitoma to Mbeumo. I think that's a good long-term move, so I'm not against that at all. I would go for Captain Salah. Any more of these Captain Salah or Haaland questions I'll try to avoid because we have covered that extensively. The last thing I will show you, though, for those of you that are interested in that debate, is the stats comparison between the two. Only one game. is pretty much nothing in terms of a sample size. But one game, Salah got an assist, a great cross there for Diaz. Haaland scored twice. Salah had 3 shots, not on target. Haaland had 4, 2 on target. Shots in the box, 2 for Salah. Over double there for, well, double, should I say, for Erling Haaland. XG, though, only 0.02 for Salah, but he had a decent expected assist number. As for Erling Haaland, almost 1 in terms of XGI, and big chances 1 for Haaland, and he scored twice. Salah, no big chances, but he created 1 and had 1 key pass, whilst Haaland had 2. So all the stats would definitely favour Erling Haaland, but it is worth mentioning Salah was away to Chelsea, and Haaland was away to a newly promoted club in Burnley. If you haven't already, then be sure to check out Drafthound. As I mentioned before, the algorithm does favour Salah, whilst Fantasy Football Hub do favour Erling Haaland as the best captaincy option this week. And as you can see, Diaz, Trent and Saka make up the rest of the top 5 according to expected points in Game Week 2. In terms of chance of scoring, Salah is also top with 55%, but Haaland is just behind with 50%, and he shares that with Diogo Jota, Darwin Nunez, and then you've got more Liverpool players in Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo. Remember, it was 9-0 to Liverpool last season, but the Bournemouth manager was Scott Parker, so we're talking about 2 managers ago, and they look pretty decent against West Ham, and they could be a surprise package in this Premier League campaign. And as for the algorithm, it also suggests the same starting 11 I've gone for, same captaincy, turnover and Onana, and also the transfer of Rico Henry, which I was happy to oblige with. So Drafthound, I have to say, really good with the assistant manager tool and all these different predicted points and algorithms to help you build the best FPL team possible. So be sure to check the link in the description below. I'm also going to put a link now on the live chat just so you can have it very easy to access. So let me just get this up here. Here we go. So be sure to be sure to tune in today. Try out, I'd say, for free, and then if you like it, become a pro pay-tier member using my link. So be sure to check that out. And let's now go back to my FPL team. We've got just under an hour left. Remember, it is a 6:15 p.m. UK time deadline, and we've got around, what, 57 minutes left? 56, yeah, 55. So yeah, not too long left. Diaby or Watkins captain? I would go for Watkins. If you want, I can check the stats briefly. Or follow the FPL rules and captain Haaland. Well, if you're backing the Aston Villa assist style score, then just go for them instead. Watkins is the way I would go, but I think the stats do favour Diaby. I think I did go over it in the reaction stream, if I'm not mistaken. Vice Capitan, Watkins or Saka? I'm currently going for Watkins. I think that's where I'll go. A and B says start Henry or Gabriel. I would go for Gabriel. -4, was it Trent to Stones? I'm guessing you're getting Trent in for Stones. Yeah, if there was any defender I'd take a hit for this week, it would be either Trent or Chilwell. So I don't mind that. Worth getting in Turner for Areola or play Areola Johnston and roll the transfer, says Jeff. I probably would roll the transfer. Yeah, it's a close one. It is a close one, but I think... Let me see. Yeah, I can understand your dilemma. I would just keep and roll. I wouldn't make a goalkeeper transfer like that. The cat is being investigated by the FA for potential betting breaches. That's why City broke down the deal to sign him. Jesus Christ, that's mad. So another Ivan Toney situation it could be. Oh my God. A and B is trying to encourage me to captain Watkins. Maybe. Largus says, when are you planning to bring in players like Maddison and Mbeumo? Around Game Week 4, Larga. And actually, a nice segue here to FPL.Team. Not sponsored by them, but a huge shout out goes to them. I always, include them as much as possible in my videos. So this is my Game Week 3 team as things stand. I'd be quite happy to roll the transfer. Maybe consider captaining a Man United player. Even the likes of Saka Martinelli look good. I've got a good bench as well with Rico Henry and, well, not Baldock. But then if we look to Game Week 4, one set of moves I could do is Maddison and Mbeumo in for Bruno Fernandes and Matoma, and I would have I would have 1 million left in the bank as things stand. This is kind of glitched out because I made the transfer before the prices, changed and all of that. But I would have around 1 million in the bank after making these two moves. Of course, by the time I get them, Maddison and Mbeumo would have gone up in price. So I would guess I would have around 0.8, 0.7 million in the bank. So yeah, it would be a bit of a tricky one, but this would look very, very solid. And I would bench Saliba potentially at home to Man United, and it would be between him and Estupinian in terms of the benching headaches. The rest would be pretty solid. As for the captaincy, unfortunately, probably the same old. But yeah, I'm looking to bring in Maddison and Mbeumo potentially in Game Week 4. I made a transfer in Game Week 2, getting Rico Henry in, and that would also bolster my squad in Game Week 4. But the plan is to possibly roll in Game Week 3 and make 2 moves in Game Week 4. I'm trying to avoid hits when possible. Martinez or Turner? This week I would go for Martinez. Wildcard Game Week 3, I think it's too early. Let me know your team, and I will make a wildcard video as well for you, but I don't think it's worth wildcarding this early. Thank you for the super chat, mate. Much appreciated, Scott. I appreciate it. I'm just saying the same thing. Hi, mate. Move Foden on this week. If so, for Mbeumo. So, I've said this before. If we do get a leak, which I doubt, about him starting, then I would keep Foden for 1 more week. But I would probably move him on to Mbeumo. I think that's the great long-term move, and you won't regret it. Even if Mbeumo is outscored by Foden this week, I think it's only a matter of time before Mbeumo just outscores him and builds a gap between him and Foden. So I think it is a good move. I think Foden scored last year in a 2-0 victory against Newcastle at home, but it's just always going to be a doubt about him starting even with Kevin De Bruyne out. So thank you, Scott, for the question. Let me know what you're looking to do, but I would go for Mbeumo. Nunez captain, not for me. Start Steele or Turner, says Baha. I would go for Turner. I think Wolves could actually get a goal here. Should I get Diaby instead of Eze for a -4? I can understand why. Diaby has a higher ceiling this week, better long-term fixtures, but I'd probably keep Eze because I just really like him as an asset, and I'm not so sure if there'll be a 4-point difference between the two. Can you rank them for this game week, Dylan? Watkins, Pedro, Jackson. Watkins first, Jackson second, Pedro third. Tommy McEaney says, Dylan, should I replace Stones for a -4? If so, who'd be a good replacement? Already have Chilwell. I probably wouldn't replace him for a -4 just yet. I just sell him in Game Week 3 for free. Because apart from Chilwell and Trent, I'm only looking at Saliba, Estupinian, who could maybe be worth a -4 long term. Apart from that, I just don't think it's worth a -4. Henry or Eze to start? Henry, just about. Start Sterling or Jackson? Jackson. Bench boost Game Week 3? I'm not sure what your bench would look like, but let me know what it is. Thank you, Milner. I have 1.5 million in the bank and have rolled a transfer. Do you think next week I should get in Maddison over Bruno or Eze? I'd rather sell Eze to Maddison because remember, Fernandes plays Nottingham Forest at home in Game Week 3. I'd definitely keep him for that and then look to sell potentially in Game Week 4 when Man United are away to Arsenal. Start Flecking or Turner? Turner. Where you from, man? Sound English, but I remember you supporting Argentina during the World Cup. I was born in England, but my family are from Argentina. I've got dual nationality, but I do support Argentina just because I grew up with them, and pretty much my whole family are from there. So that's why I support Argentina. I also speak Spanish fluently, but I do recognize my English is better. Should I get rid of Gabriel? Not in my opinion. I would keep him. Salah's available. I see no reason why he wouldn't be, despite him, throwing a tantrum. I probably will in a minute. Yeah, he should be fine. He'll start. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Johnston or Turner? Turner. I know it's early, but you have any plans on using wildcard? Not really. Maybe after Game Week 7. I tend to use it between Game Week 7 to 10. I see no reason to think about it too much just yet. I'm quite happy with my team. How the fantasy can we play some FIFA Pro Clubs together? I hate FIFA, to be honest, and Pro Clubs, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. Rashford and De Bruyne, yeah, big win. Sorry, but just don't spam the chat because otherwise your question won't be answered. King Ratius says, bench Mitoma for Jackson this week. Yes, I would start Jackson. Akanji or Saliba this week? Saliba. Luke Shaw to Chilwell or roll the transfer? I would make the move this week. You don't need to, and Shaw plays Nottingham Forest next week, but I would go for Chilwell. Start Jackson or Mitoma? I'd go for Jackson. And there's a lot of Jackson questions in the chat. Ziad says Jackson, Foden, Pedro, Richarlison, bench 1. Richarlison. Chilwell or roll the transfer, says Daniel. Yeah, let me just get it up. For some reason, I'm getting a bit of a glitch. Whenever people put emojis, it kind of messes up the chat on my end. So I do apologize for that. I would do it this week, yes. Should I swap Matoma with Mbeumo? Long term, yeah. I'm looking to do the same move, but maybe in Game Week 4. So whether you do it now or in Game Week 4 is up to you, but ultimately I would do it. Thank you, Dot. Thank you very much. I'm considering Eze to Diaby. I like it. I think he's got a high ceiling this week and better fixtures. I'd go for it. Maybe not for a hit, though. You've probably already answered this, but Salah over Haaland for captaincy? Yes. And yes, Daniel, I would, as we've covered already. What do I do with Akanji? I keep him, potentially start him, but it just depends who your other defenders are. Justin says, hola Dylan, ¿crees que Rico Lewis empieza? Gracias. No sé, y lamentablemente con todos los defensores de Manchester City, siempre va a haber dudas de quién va a empezar el partido. Así que yo creo que no, pero es muy difícil para apuntar quién va a empezar para Manchester City. Deadly4U2 says, is it worth changing Bruno for Luis Diaz for -4? Not in my opinion, because Bruno faces Nottingham Forest next week, and after that, you'd probably be interested in Maddison. Junior says, start free. I think we have covered this, but once again, I will go for Jackson, Pedro, and Fernandez. Wissa or Eze? Wissa. Should I start Colwill or Akanji? Akanji. We are getting a lot of repeat questions. We have highlighted questions, on screen, and I've also answered them, so be sure to rewind. Mbeumo or Maddison? Mbeumo this week. Fernandez and Mitoma out for Maddison and Foden / Mbeumo. I'd go for Mbeumo over Foden, and I'm looking to make the same moves, but in Game Week 4. Gabriel for Gavardiol, Saliba or Henry, and best replacement for Fernandez. Saliba is my favourite, and as for Fernandez replacement, it would be Mbeumo or Maddison, but I'm not sure who you have. You might have one of those players already. Gabriel or Colwill, Gabriel, and Foden or Colwill. Foden. It's a tricky one because if he doesn't start, then of course you're not really expecting much there. Update on Alvarez. Yeah, he did pick up a bit of a knock, I think, before the Super Cup final. Otherwise, he would have started. So yeah, I'll try to get the latest official statement by Guardiola, but yeah, he did pick up an injury. So the latest we have on Alvarez, I think he's just been cleared. I think he's cleared to play now. He's no longer a doubt, it looks like, on FPL, or according to the press conferences. The only doubts for Man City remain De Bruyne, Ruben Dias, Bernardo Silva, and John Stones. So yeah, we still have 158 people watching, and we are so close to 100 likes. So be sure to keep on smashing the like button, and let's try, by the end of the stream, we've still got 46 minutes left to get this stream to 150 likes. That'd be massively appreciated, and it boosts us up in the algorithm. And if you haven't already, consider becoming a patron or channel member. We have given a shout out already to all the channel members and patrons early in this video, and there'll be another shout out later on before we wrap up. S1 says, should I start Pedro or Jackson? I'd go for Jackson. I like Alvarez. I think he'll get more game time this season, but he's not going to start every single game for me, even with De Bruyne out. And you've also got Joao Pedro at 5.5 million, soon to be 5.6. You've got Jackson at 7 million. I think they are better options. Should I sort Fernandez for Luis Diaz for -4? I've said this before. No. So not much more I could say there. Is it risky to captain Nunez? Yes, because he might not even start. It's as simple as that. Fernandez to Mbeumo or roll? I'd probably roll and look to bring in Mbeumo around Game Week 4, but I don't mind the Mbeumo move even now. Do you think Diaby's a better option than Mbeumo? In Game Week 2, I think Diaby's better, but long term, I prefer Mbeumo. Good suggestion there. A good point that he's never scored or assisted against Fulham, but he's never played against them as the main man. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. Do you think Nunez will start? I just don't know, nobody. Honestly, I don't know, because Nunez has never really been able to nail down a place in pre-season. I think he started 1 or 2 games, and then after that, he was constantly benched. So it's really tricky to tell. It might just depend on training, on maybe just the profile of player up against the Bournemouth defence. And Bournemouth have a few injury problems themselves, but I just wouldn't count on Nunez starting in general. I would start Saliba over Udogi. Trossard to Diaby or Mitoma? Diaby. Eze or Gabriel? If I had both, I'd probably favour Eze. Shaw or Colwill to start? Colwill. Eze to Diaby or start Gabriel? I think I'd do Eze to Diaby. Having said that, I do prefer Mbeumo. Would you captain Salah? Yes, I would. Martinelli or Mitoma to start? Martinelli. Rashford and Mudryk or Maddison and Foden? Maddison and Foden. Still not convinced about Mudryk yet. Is Turner Areola a good goalkeeper rotation for a few weeks? I mean, for their price, yes, but I don't see many clean sheets for either of them. I'd rather have a kind of more reliable option like a Fleckin or an Onana. Rodrigo will start. I'm not sure which Rodrigo you're referring to. If you're talking about Rodri, he starts every single game. Thank you, Salman. Best of luck to you as well. James says, is Son a good differential? We know what Son can do, but based on pre-season, where he scored no goals and got no assists, Gameweek 1, where he looked pretty average at best, and also how poor he was last season for his standards, I have to say, at the moment, he isn't. I'd rather just go for Maddison. Isak, we have covered that question. If you had Salah, would you captain him? Yes. Luis Diaz in for Fernandes? No. I think in Game Week 2 you will outscore him, but in Game Week 3 I expect Fernandes to get a better score, and also longer term I still prefer Fernandes. Important question, do you think Trent is still a great asset? Yeah, I still think he's a great asset, but he's not necessary. And with his 8 million price tag, and you've got the likes of Chilwell, Estupiñán, and Saliba for, you know, basically 2 million cheaper, I'd rather go there. Cash or Foden? Probably cash just to be safe. Yeah, Isak, you're literally just repeating the same question. So I don't understand. Saka captain over Haaland, thoughts? Look, it's not a bad shout. Some people in the chat do favour him, but I think Haaland will outscore Saka. You think there should be a DM position to increase viability of Rodri and alike? Yeah, I think there should be ball recovery points like UCL Fantasy, or at least, you know, maybe tiers for tackles and passes. I think that would make the game a bit more interesting too. But I don't see it happening. I would start Colwill there, Simon. Bench Gabriel or Akanji? Probably Akanji. I want to go about United assets, but it's risky. Yeah, fair enough. I don't think a triple up is great, but I think having one or two is fine. I think that's the sweet spot. Welcome, Aneem. I'm going for Turner, Wendell. Let's now go back to my team. We do have... yeah, we have 40 minutes left, basically. 41 minutes left for the deadline, so be sure to get your questions in. We have covered a lot of topics already, so we're trying to go through some different ground. John Snow says, hey Dylan, Bruno to Maddison or Diaby and -4 for Chilwell. What do you think? I probably would do Bruno to... Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure what the Chilwell transfer is. I'm not sure who you're selling there. I probably would keep Bruno at least for another 2 weeks, so this week and next week, and then look to sell. But I don't mind the Diaby pick. If you were to bring in a midfielder now, it would be Diaby. Bruno Fernandes to Maddison before he rises in price? No, because, you know, there's still a 0.9 million difference between the two after the price rise in your favour, so you can easily get to Maddison later. Pau Torres or Gabriel? Pau Torres. Good luck to you as well, Aneem. No, Salman. The latest update was they picked up a bit of a knock, a bit of an injury before the Super Cup final, but he came on, took a penalty, scored it, and he should be fine for the Newcastle game. Milner says, hey Dylan, do you think that if somehow Gabriel doesn't start in Game Week 2, do you think a switch to Saliba is good? Definitely. If Gabriel doesn't start again, then I think a switch to Saliba is very simple. Start Gabriel or Shaw this week. I'd go for Gabriel. Thoughts on Estupiñán captain? Not for me. In terms of defenders, it would be Trent first, Chilwell second, and maybe Estupiñán third. But I think Wolves have a decent chance this week of getting something. Bench Gabriel or Akanji, it's already covered. I would bench Akanji. Game Week 3, Jackson and Sanchez in. Not a bad shout. I like the Jackson pick in particular. Mbeumo or Bruno. This week it would be Mbeumo. I'm hesitant on Gabriel. I have Pau Torres on the bench. Yeah, I'd start Pau Torres. Timber came off for Tomiyasu in that 3-2-4-1 against Forest. I still think Gabriel starts, to be fair. Foden for Diaby. I like the move. I'd go ahead with it. So according to Sheffield United manager, he said that Baldock is okay, you know, stuff like that, but doesn't feel with confidence. And I saw a few tweets, you know, from people who supposedly have sources inside the club, and apparently Baldock still has a bit of a problem and he might miss out today. So I'm not so sure how reliable those leaks are or those rumours are, so I honestly am not sure. Would you have Konate in your team? No. Start Cash or Gabriel? Cash. Turner or Flecken? Turner. Richarlison or Eze, Saliba or Henry? I would go for Eze. You know what? I'd go for Richarlison and Saliba. I'd go for those two. Close call, though. Really close call. It's a good question. Start Jackson or Isak? Jackson. Don't know whether to captain Watkins or Haaland. Yeah, it's a really close one. I think Watkins has the best fixture. You know, that's undeniable. But Man City are a much better team than Aston Villa. Haaland's an absolute monster, especially at home. And I think he can still do extremely well against Newcastle. Start Foden or Gabriel? Foden. Should I sell Nunez and get Jackson or wait for Nunez? I'd probably sell Nunez to Jackson, to be fair. It can be a, you know, it can come back to bite you if Nunez starts, but he's not going to get those consistent run of starts, I think. I think you have a better season this time round, you know, get 10+ goals. And he already got 9 in the last season, by the way, but I think he'll do pretty well. But it's just, is he going to nail down a spot? And I'm not so sure. Saka's not my favourite captaincy option. From my players, he's in my top 3, but I just don't see him doing that well against Palace, and I could be wrong. Any thoughts on moves next week? I showed some transfer plans earlier on in this video, and at the moment, I'm quite happy to roll in 3 and then look to bring in Maddison and Mbeumo in Game Week 4. But of course, things can change very quickly, and in terms of Chelsea players, Jackson is at the top of my list, but would I sell Watkins to him? Not necessarily. Eric says, hey Dylan, do you think Akanji will start? He looks like the most nailed-on defender at the moment, but I think ultimately it will be Ruben Dias or Gvardiol. It's always a tricky one with Akanji and Man City defenders. I think he will start, but you just never know. Eze to Mbeumo worth it? I think so, Tommy. Aero says Rashford and Mbeumo or Foden and Maddison. Rashford and Mbeumo for me. Yeah, Alfredo, you have asked this question quite a lot of times. I have already answered it. Bench one of Joao Pedro, Foden, Alvarez. Probably Alvarez. Funnily enough, he might be more likely to start than Foden, but I just see Foden being more likely to score or get points than Alvarez if he starts. So it's kind of a tricky one. It's definitely one of the Man City assets to bench, and I'd probably bench Alvarez. Should I sell short to get Chilwell? I personally would, Casper. I'd captain Haaland there, Mohammed. I support Arsenal music and Argentina. Tommy says Nunez had 12 goals last season. I think you might be right. I was talking specifically about the Premier League, but you might be right. I'll have a quick look and see. Let me have a look. Don't know why that happened. No, he had 9 goals in the Premier League. Yeah, he had 9 goals and 5 assists. Maybe 12 in all competitions. You might be right. But yeah, in the Premier League I was talking about. Mitoma or Pedro to start? Mitoma. I hope Rashford starts on the left with Sancho at 9 and Spurs push their line nice and high. Yeah, I don't think Spurs will compensate, you know, their style of play too much. And I have to say, even as an Arsenal fan, they were very enjoyable to watch against Brentford. It was one of the best games I saw all weekend. And, you know, if they're going to continue playing that way, which I think they will under their manager, then, you know, you can just expect plenty of goals, and that will be great for Rashford owners too. Awani start? Yeah, you know, I definitely expect him to start, and I think he's Nottingham Forest's best striker. Yeah, I think so, Wei-Seng. I think so. Bench 1, Colwill, Gusto, Henry. Gusto. I wouldn't double up on Chelsea defensively against West Ham away. Which one should I trade Mitoma with? Diaby, Mbeumo, or roll transfer? Mbeumo's my favourite long-term, but I would roll the transfer personally. That's what I'm looking to do as well. Although technically I did use it on Rico Henry. Yes, Mogul. As discussed in the team selection video, that was my only move. I did it before Mings went down in price. So I had to act, and it was between Henry and Colwill, and I decided to go for Rico Henry. Mbuma for me, data. And I said this before, but the reason why I started the season with Matoma is the opening 3 fixtures. Yeah, we just covered that. Who to start, Gabriel or Baldock? Gabriel. Deadly for you too says, hey Dylan, should I start Henry over Gabriel? I think Gabriel, personally. If you're unsure, then it's worth going for Henry, but I personally am confident enough in Gabriel. Quite toothless Mac. They lost their best striker from last season in Ndai. He had 14 goals and 10 assists in the championship. He's no longer at the club. They also lost a key midfielder in Sander Berg. They've got a few injury problems. I personally would start Turner, but it is worth mentioning that in all 3 of their previous meetings, in the 2021-22 season, I don't think Nottingham Forest won a single game. It was 2 draws, and actually, I might be wrong about that. But they did concede in all of their games, that is for sure. So if I get the record up quickly again. So yeah, the last 3 meetings between the 2. So yeah, the last meeting, which was at Forest, was a 2-1 win to Sheffield United, but Forest won on penalties. Forest won 2-1 at Sheffield United's ground, and Forest drew 1-1 at Sheffield United's ground as well. So yeah, that was all in the 2022 calendar year. Hi Dylan, going to play Gabriel. Should I have Colwill or Baldock first sub? Colwill. I would start Colwill, Simon. Any chance of Trossard starting? Yes, but he scored twice in a behind the doors, behind closed doors friendly against Luton Town. Arsenal won 3-0. I just don't know what's going to take for him to start. Are there any good Wolves assets? I mean, you're mainly looking at defenders as usual, or the goalkeeper. So Kilman, even Semedo could be decent. Jose Sa. I think those would be the best assets. I still think they're a bit toothless up front, but Pedro Neto could be one to watch. But yeah, I'm mainly looking at Kilman and Semedo and Jose Sa. I think Sa will be the best overall if I had to pick one. Starting 11 is same as yours, except different bench. What could I do next week with 2 transfers? Bring in Mbuma, maybe for Matoma, and in Gameweek 4, bring in Maddison for Fernandes. I would go for Gabriel there, Tamid. Who would you bench out? Martinelli, Bruno, Rashford, and Mbeumo? Pedro or Jackson? Probably Bruno Fernandes, which is risky, but probably him. Ibsy says, hey Dylan, out Bruno, Rashford, Martinelli, and Saka. Who should I take out next week for Maddison? I would just wait another week, I think, because all of them have good fixtures, and I think they'll all do well, and maybe better than Maddison. But if I had to pick one, it's Bruno. Am I crazy to start Osula? Depends who you start him over, to be fair. But he is starting for Sheffield United, and he had a good chance to score in Gameweek 1. Captain Salah or Haaland? Salah. Heideland, Maddison or Diaz for Matoma? Maddison long term, so he is my answer. I'd say Eze is maybe more likely to get a goal or assist. I mean, the bookmakers and the odds would tell you it would be Gabriel keeping a clean sheet, but for me, Eze. Henry for Stones, yeah, I like that. Thinking about a punt on Gibbs White captain. That's a big one. I like Gibbs White. He's actually my favourite sub 6.3 million midfielder, as we discussed earlier. But I mean, good luck if you go for it. You know, that's a really good captain on paper. Start Turner or Flecken? Turner. Top 4 this season. Really? No Arsenal? That's surprising. No United as well. No Liverpool. Well, no, you do have Liverpool. Sorry, but no United or Arsenal. That's interesting. I disagree. I think Newcastle will finish above Chelsea. Of course, it's very early on. I don't think Liverpool will finish second. I just don't think. I know they signed Endo, and he's a decent. I think it would be a decent signing, but I don't really agree with that top 4. Shaw or Colwill to start? Colwill. Salah or Haaland for captaincy? Salah. Pickford or Turner for goalkeeper? Turner. Should I play Stones of a City or Chelsea defender? Chelsea defender, especially if you don't have Chilwell. He is the one. Mbuma or Pedro? Mbuma. Trade Fleck into Sanchez? Yes, but I mean, I say yes. No, I'd probably keep him for now. I'd keep Flecking. Yeah, it was a good start, Rigby. I'm quite happy with it. One of the best starts I've had in terms of rank. Hopefully we can push on, and hopefully he did well too. Saliba or Gusto? Saliba. Is the RB 100% nailed? Yeah, I think he'll start the vast majority of games, 90%. Of course, when your OP comes into play, you might see the odd rotation, but Emery does really well in terms of balancing the league and Europa League. Bench Bruno for Jackson as a differential. Yeah, I'd do the same. Captain Watkins, I like it. Maybe not enough to go for it myself, because I do prefer Haaland, but it is a good shout. I would start Gabriel there, Il Haruchi. Edison versus Newcastle or Turner? Probably Edison. Really close call though. Really, really close. Thank you, Ibsy. Thoughts on Watkins to Jackson next week? I'd still keep Watkins. I like Jackson and the fixtures, but I would keep Watkins for now. I'd obviously reassess after Game Week 2, and our opinions always change, but I would just wait a little bit. I would keep Watkins. Have Stones and Gabriel and no Liverpool player. What to do? You can't have everyone, unfortunately. Having Gabriel and Stones is a concern, but I think Gabriel comes back into the side. If you don't have Chilwell, Stones to Chilwell, if would be ideal. I'm guessing you can't do that, or you've got him already. But yeah, as for Liverpool players, that was already an active decision on your part when you started in Game Week 1. And really, the easiest kind of move for you would be a Diaz in or a Fernandes or something like that. And I'm not so sure if it's worth it. Bench Bruno for Jackson. Yep, I've said that already. Scared of Salah this week? I wouldn't say scared, but I think he will cost me a little bit. Haaland or Watkins for captain? I'm going for Haaland, unfortunately. I think I'm going to stick. But if I decide to change it, you will see. Start João Pedro or Eze? João Pedro. The deadline is at 6:15 PM UK time, so we've got 27 minutes left. Current transfer plans. I've already made one transfer. Rico Henry in for Mings, and I could bring in Maddison and Mbeumo in Game Week 4. Pau Torres or Gabriel? Pau Torres. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, Mac, even if I captain him. Ideally, City lose and Haaland blanks. That'd be great. Man United typically slow starters, FPL attack. Yeah. I did expect them to be involved against Wolves, though. That's why I had them. And I was also targeting that Forest Fiction Game Week 3. But it does look like a mistake so far. Thank you, Ahmed, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Matoma in full, mid or João Pedro of Watkins and EH. I'm probably... Oh, Erling Haaland. I'd go for Matoma personally. I was asked this question a few times, Matoma versus Pedro. And whilst it's really close and Pedro's on penalties and has a better record over pre-season and in Game Week 1, I would go for Matoma. Maddison or Rashford? Rashford this week and also in Game Week 3. But after that, I'd be very open to Maddison. Saka or Martinelli? Saka. Start Foden or Matoma? Matoma. The only way I'd start Foden is if I knew he starts. And I'm not sure we're going to get that information. Bruno or Gabriel? Probably Bruno. Bench 1, Whistle or Jackson? I'd bench Jackson there. Really close, though. Really close. Holland says Salah, Maddison, Diaby, or Rashford, Bruno, Martinelli as a trio. Looks really good. I'd say Salah, Maddison, and Diaby. I've got Gibbs White and Awani. Good luck, mate. Let's wait and see what they can do. But I would back Forest for the win. And to maybe score 2+ goals, and that could bode well for you. Start Pedro or Chilwell? Chilwell. Rashford or Maddison to start? Rashford. Is Gabriel still a doubt? For some people he is, but I don't have any concerns myself. Maybe I'm being a bit naive or stubborn, but he started 73 games consecutively for a reason. Marcus says, I had Jota Game Week 1, sold him for Mbeumo. I mean, you could. He is facing Bournemouth after all, but Mbeumo is the better long-term option, that's for sure. Thank you, Mona, and good luck this week. Enjoy it. Stones replacement, have Colwell, Gabriel, Stupinian, Baldock. Already have 3 United. I would say Chilwell if you can afford it, Hill. Gabriel or Bruno, we've covered that already. Try to, I don't know. I put the message, I highlight it on the screen as well. Martin into Diaz, Maddison, or should I roll the transfer? Roll the transfer. Confident of turnover on Onana? Fairly confident. I wouldn't say completely, but I'm backing it. Start Foden or Matoma, covered already. What about Endo? As an FPL option, no, but I think he could be a decent signing. Haaland or Chilwell captain? Haaland. I have 0.5 million in the bank, currently playing Botman. Should I transfer him out for Gusto? No. If I were to transfer him out, it would be for Rico Henry. Yeah. 0.5 million in the bank as well. I mean, I'm not sure what your other defenders are, but if you've got a 4 million defender, I'd rather take them out, get Rico Henry in, and then start him. How much do you take on Salah has told his agent to look into a Saudi move? I'm not sure what the source is for that bit of news, but I don't really pay too much attention to that unless Fabrizio or David Ornstein report it. Start Neto or Pedro? Pedro. Short or Akanji this week? Akanji. Mbeumo or Diaz? I mean, Mbeumo's my pick because long-term he's the better asset. Of course, this week, who do I think scores more points? It's Diaz. But long-term, it's a different story. Start Emerson Real or Gusto? Gusto. Gibbs White on pens and corners. Yeah, he's a quality player too. Bench Akanji or Colwill? Colwill. I would start Akanji. It's not really known yet, but he is missing out in Game Week 2, that's for sure. Drop 1, Matoma, Madison, Joao Pedro, Diaby, Nunez. I would drop Madison, even though he's probably the best FPL asset of the lot. You think Trossard could play? Yes, he could, but I think Arteta's so stubborn. Thank you, Duke. I appreciate the kind words. Saka or Watkins, captain? I'm currently favouring Watkins because of the fixture. I think Aston Villa are more likely to score 2 or more goals, and Watkins has a higher chance of scoring for me. Well, I don't have Gabriel. I've got Saliba. So, yeah. If I had Gabriel, I would consider it a little bit more just because of the, the doubts we may have, but I'd still start Gabriel. Saliba or Shaw? Saliba. Start Gabriel or Colwill? I would start Gabriel. Gusto or Aurier? Aurier. Colwill or Gabriel? Gabriel. Shaw or Akanji? Akanji. Pick 2 for this game week, says Abu. I would pick Cash and Gabriel. Siam puts his defensive line. Which 3 should I play? I would play Stupinian, Gabriel, and Henry. Would you buy Diaz? If so, sell Bruno or Odegaard. I like Diaz as a player, but I'm still not so sure about him as an FPL asset. If I were to sell someone this week, it actually would be Odegaard, because I think Fernandes over the next 2 overall outscores Odegaard. But yeah, would I buy Diaz this week? I mean, I like him for this week, but after that, I'm not so sure. That's the problem. I think there are better options like Mbeumo, long-term, and Maddison. Bear with me. Power just came on after 3 hours. Bench Gabriel or Akanji? I would personally bench Akanji, but it's a close call. Cylindra says Mbeumo, Foden, Joao Pedro. Which 2 to start? Mbeumo and Foden for me. But if you aren't sure about Foden starting, then you might have to reconsider that, of course. Gross or Enzo? Gross. But as I said before, Enzo could become a serious FPL option in the future, especially once Caicedo and Lavia, start games, really. Do you think Haaland won't perform as well as normally since he can't get the same chances that KDB creates for him? Well, that's one factor, but also he's facing Newcastle at home, and I don't see City scoring 4+. I think they'll score 2 or 3. And I see Haaland scoring once, but I'm always confident in Haaland scoring, especially at home. I can't say the same about any of my other players, including Watkins. Thoughts on Bruno Fernandes out and bringing Diaz? I think it's a good move this week, but in Game Week 3, Fernandes will probably outscore Diaz, and it might be a very close call in the end. And ultimately, you might want other midfielders in the future, so it's kind of a close one. But for this week, yes, I do like it. Drop 1, Mitoma, Joao Pedro, or Mbeumo? Joao Pedro. Chelsea Blue says Heideland, Saliba or Colwill? Saliba. Thomas says I must bench for this week. I'm not sure. Let me try scroll up quickly and see what you mean. Drop 1. Yeah. For the bench. If it's drop 1 to the bench, my answer stays the same. I'd bench Maddison. Baldock or Rico Lewis? I'd probably start Rico Lewis just in case. And if the rumours are to be believed, Baldock will probably not feature today. From those 3, it would be Haaland, then Chilwell, then Mbeumo. Start Foden or Akanji? Foden. Leno or Pickford? Leno. Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Gabriel or Wan-Bissaka? Gabriel. Thank you for the super chat, Wardy. I appreciate it. Lot of FPL pundits don't rate Rodri. Look, I'm not considering myself an FPL pundit. I just offer my opinions and, discuss things in the streams and videos with you lot. But look, Rodri, the reason why he's an okay FPL asset and he will get 100+ FPL points, I would say, is because he plays week in, week out. He's got a bit of goal threat from set pieces. He's really good from outside the box in terms of his shots. So he is going to get some returns. Let me actually check what he did last season. So in the Premier League, he got 2 goals and 6 official assists. And in terms of overall FPL points, he got 108. So I could see him doing that again, maybe even better. But the thing is, when you've got midfielders for just a little bit more, you know, literally for 0.9 million more, you've got Mbumo, you've got Eze, you've got Matoma, Solly March. They're all going to outscore Rodri. And also, at one point, you may want double or triple City, and Rodri might get in the way of that. So I think Rodri's not a bad option, actually. But there are better options at literally just 500,000 or 1 million more. I even prefer Gibbs White as well, and Brennan Johnson. But I have to say, he's not a bad FPL option. He definitely isn't, despite being a CDN. Spurs versus United, what do you think the score will be? I went for a 1-1 earlier. I think it will be a draw. I think both teams will score. So I'll probably stick to that 1-1. It was 2-2 the last time out. United went 2-0 up and then, you know, kind of fumbled it in the end. But I'd say a 1-1 is probably, you know, quite a decent prediction. I would start Turner there, Dylan. Fair enough, Twisted. I can understand that as a Brighton fan. Bench 1, Matoma, Pedro and Diaby. I would bench Pedro. Steele or Turner, I would go for Turner. I think so, Jazabi. There might be a change in captaincy, but I don't see myself taking a hit, you know, or making a transfer. Do you think Darwin starts this week? Honestly, Thomas, I'm not so sure. If I had to predict, I think yes, but I honestly am 50-50 on it. Thank you, Wardy. I bought him, so him and Salah in for KDB and Odegaard before price changes. As a City fan, I'm pretty confident in Rodri. Yeah, of course, scored in the Champions League final. He's such a consistent player. As an opposition fan, you hate him, but you love that sort of player in your team, and he is the best defensive midfielder in the world. So, yeah, I think he's a decent option, and of course, as a City fan, it's even sweeter when he does return. Would you start Henry over Gabriel? No. Transferring Gusto for Kabore or roll? I would roll. Watkins or Jackson? Watkins. Start Shaw or Torres? Torres. New goal record for Liverpool versus Bournemouth? No. It's not going to be 9-0. Let's just say that right now. Yeah, it's just not happening. Could Liverpool batter Bournemouth? Yes, but I just don't see it being as bad as some people say. I think there'll be 3 or 4 goals in it max. I don't see it being more than that. That's my prediction. Turner, Gabriel, Chilwell, Stupinian, Saka, Martinelli, Rashford, and Mbumo, Jackson, Haaland, Pedro. Worth rolling. Barnes, Colwell, Stones on the bench. That's good squad depth. Yeah, I think it's worth rolling. I don't think you need to make a move necessarily this week. Of course, the defence might be a bit of a concern, but you can always address that. And you've got Colwell on the bench just in case. Start Pickford or Areola is the question. I would probably go for Pickford, but just about. Captain Salah if you had him? Yes. Start Matoma or Cash? I would start Matoma. I tend to favour attackers anyway. I don't mind Cash in general, but I'd go for Matoma. Who should I bench Jackson for? João Pedro is the one I'd bench. Stones replacement, Chilwell if you don't have him. Apart from that, you're looking at Saliba mainly. Bruno out, Maddison in. I personally am looking to keep Bruno and make that same move of Maddison in for Bruno in Gameweek 4. Gabriel is sure to Chilwell in Gameweek 3. It all depends really on the lineup. So if Gabriel's benched once again against Palace, which I don't think will happen, but if it did happen, then he's the one to sell for sure to Chilwell. If he does start again, I'd rather sell Shaw. Foden or João Pedro? João Pedro is just more nailed on to start. Foden, you just never know. Yeah, I'd probably go for João Pedro. And the only way I'd change that is if we got confirmation of Foden starting. At one point, will we see price drops below 4 million in the season? I don't know about an exact timeline on it, but it'd just be a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. Who should I bench Jackson for? We covered that already. Try not to repeat the question, please. Any good players to bring in this week? Yes, there are good players this week, of course. I think Diaz, Jota, Chilwell, Salah, Watkins, Jackson. They're all really good options to buy this week. And then there are some really good long-term picks like Maddison and Mbumo. Caicedo versus Rice versus Casemiro versus Rodri order. As things stand, it'd be Rodri first, Casemiro second, Rice third, Caicedo fourth. I think Caicedo has the most potential, but yeah, that's the way I'd rank it right now. I think Rice could, surpass Casemiro for second, but yeah, I think Rodri, especially in the team he plays in, he's in a league of his own right now. I think there's a huge difference between Rodri and second place. Jackson or Saka? Saka. Should I sell Eze? I like him, but I think it's worth selling him because of fixtures. 50 minutes to lock in, yes. We're getting close. Chilwell or Akanji, says Ken. Chilwell. Best under 4.4 million defender. Good question. I mean, Baldock when fit is decent. Kabore, Bayer, all solid choices. Bell. I think Gusto could be the one with James out. Turner or Steele? Turner. Henry in for Mings or roll the transfer? I've made that same move. I did it before the price changes. I probably would roll if you've got a good starting 11 and you're confident of everyone starting. Gabriel or Konsa? Konsa. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Diaby? I like him. I like him a lot. He was a buy in the Transitives video. So yeah, I think he's a good option to buy even from Gameweek 2. Should I sell Eze? I think so, but it all is team dependent. What about Salah? You can't have everyone. Simple as that. Hey Dylan, Shaw or Saliba to start? Saliba. Is Lisandro Martinez injured? I think so. Let me bring up the latest update right here. So the latest on Lisandro Martinez, a little problem on his ankle, tendon, we'll see, but I don't think it's big. We'll see how he is this week. So he's being assessed. He's still got a chance. If I had to guess, I think he'll be back in the lineup against Spurs. Baldock or Gabriel? Gabriel. Gabriel Shaw. Gabriel. Jackson to Watkins. I'd just keep what you have, I think. Whether it's Jackson or Watkins. Start Edison or Turner. Probably Edison. Bench 2, Bruno, Shaw, Matoma, and Pedro. I would bench Shaw and Pedro, I think. Yeah. Start Odegaard or Alvarez. Odegaard. Start Foden or Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro just to be safe. Thoughts on Pau Torres. Decent 4.5 million option, especially with Mings out. He's going to start every game. He had a bit of a shaky start, but he was up against Newcastle. Play Shaw or Gabriel? I mean, that question has been answered quite a few times. I'm going to stick with the same one. Gabriel. Gabriel Konsa. Konsa. White turnover Onana. Better fixture. More likely to keep a clean sheet. I think Spurs will score 1 or 2. Captain Rashford, Saka or Haaland? Haaland for me. I've brought in Rico Henry for Mings. If I sell De Bruyne, who should I buy? I have Rashford, Maddison, Matoma, Odegaard. Have only the 10.4 million by selling him. Good question. Yes, Saka. I think Saka's the best midfielder. Should I keep Diaby in? I'm guessing that is yes. Turnover Onana. That's what I'm doing. Hey Dylan, bench Gabriel for cash? Yes, I would start cash. Salah to Maddison in Gameweek 3, a bad idea? Not necessarily. But if I had Salah, I'd be looking to keep him long term. Possibly, I think so. Thoughts on being forced to start Udogi with Baldock out? Not ideal. I think United will score and catch Spurs out on the counter-attack. But Udogi was fairly decent in pre-season and also in Gameweek 1. I would go for Onana there. Shaw or Walker? Walker. When do you plan on using bench boost? Much later in the season, I think. Gabriel March? I'd go for Solly March. Estupinian as captain? No, not for me. Bench 1, Gakpo, Bruno, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes. Van Heck from Brighton. Yeah, that's another good shout at 4 million to start. But I would personally go for Gusto. Better long-term fixtures. Of course, James could come back fairly soon, but I'd go for Gusto. Martinelli is better than Odegaard for me, FPL-wise. Captain Darwin Nunez. If I knew he would start, then I wouldn't mind that. But because of that, on top of his unreliability in front of goal, I'd probably look elsewhere. I'd be more open to captaining Salah, Diaz and Trent from Liverpool, and Jota. Start Odegaard or Alvarez, already answered. Shaw, Walker as well. Stones replacement, no Chilwell or United. Maybe Henry, Disasi. I'd go for Henry. Who should I sell Eze for? Mbeumo's the best long-term move in my opinion. Start with Pedro or Jackson? Jackson. Why choose Matoma over Joao Pedro? Midfielder, extra point for a clean sheet and for scoring a goal. And I also think Matoma will do very well against Wolves, at least compared to Joao Pedro. Captain Saka or Haaland? Haaland. Diaz to Fernandes. I'm guessing it's the other way around. Not a bad move for this week, but you might regret it come Game Week 3. Estupinian or Henry? Estupinian. Start Joao Pedro or Bruno Fernandes? Probably Fernandes. Thank you, Lager, for the super chat. Much appreciated, as always, tuning in and moderating the chat. So thank you for that. Triple Captain Salah. It's not a bad shout, but I probably wouldn't this week. I think there are better opportunities later in the season. Imbumo or Joao Pedro? Imbumo. Yeah. Because a betting scandal could hinder City move. Yeah, it looks like it. That's what people have told me in the chat, so thank you for that. I actually wasn't aware. Will Akanji start? I think so. Honestly, with City, it's going to be very difficult to predict all season. Thank you, Lager, as well, for the other super chat. You didn't have to, mate. You're a legend. Thank you very much. Do we have a starting 11? No. As far as I'm aware, I don't think so. I can have a quick look if you want, but I don't think we have a starting 11. So, Sheffield United, let's see if we can get anything. Which one to bench? Matoma, Pedro, and Nico Jackson. Pedro for me. If you do see any lineups or leaks, then be sure to let me know. Salah for me. I would captain Salah. Watkins or Jackson? Watkins. Thank you once again, Lager. Like I said, very much appreciated, and you're very generous. So, as always, thank you to Lager and all the channel members and patrons and those who have sent in super chats earlier in today's video. Will Gabriel start in Game Week 2? I think so. Start Eze or Jackson? Jackson. Coopsy Coop says, hey Dylan, should I do James D'Augusto, Colwill, or roll and start Eze? I'd probably roll and start Eze personally, but it is a tough call. Udogi or Botman? Udogi. Start Odegaard or Alvarez? Odegaard. Start Foden or Pedro? Pedro just to be safe. And Colwill or Shaw? Colwill. Pickford or Steele? This week Steele. Cash or Gabriel? Cash. Why start on Conser for Gabriel? Better chance for clean sheet. Who's the best replacement of James from Chelsea except Chilwell? Colwill for me. Start Gabriel or Henry? Gabriel. Bench Onana for Turner. That's what I'm doing. I would recommend it for most people. I'm coming for that league title. Let's see, Alejandro. I'd rather Arsenal win the league, but yeah, that's another thing. Pereira or Eze? Question. Eze. Onana over Turner for higher ceiling? Not a bad shout, but I'm still going for Turner. Do you know if price changes reset once gaming commences? No, JP, I answered this earlier. They don't reset. It just keeps on going. The prices change around 1 AM or 2 AM UK time, and there are no kind of resets, basically. I didn't get to remove Gabriel last game week in time. Do I transfer him out now? I'd keep him personally. That's what I would do. Saliba or Gabriel? Saliba. Play Henry or Shaw? Henry. Start Eze or Pedro? Pedro. What about Gabriel? I think he starts. Alvarez will play. I think so. I'm less confident about that one, actually. Odegaard. I'm not sure what the question is about Odegaard. Hey, Pedro, good to see you. Cash or Saliba? I'd start Cash. Gonzalo says Bulldog to Henry now and bench Matoma this game week or wait for game week 3. Just start Matoma and wait for game week 3 to make transfers. Any must-have Liverpool players to bring in instead of Bruno or Martinelli? I wouldn't say must-haves, but I like Diaz and Jota this week. Start Foden or Pedro? Pedro. Saka or Watkins Vice? You can see the answer on screen, basically. I'm currently going for Watkins. Henry or Colwill? Henry. Would you bring in Luis Diaz for any of your squad? I mean, for this game specifically, then for Bruno Fernandes, I think I'd be quite happy with that move. But I also like Fernandes for game week 3, and I'm looking at the likes of Maddison long term. No worries, JP. Captain Watkins for the fun of it. Feel like Haaland won't score a lot of points against Newcastle, then yeah, if you back Watkins to do well and have a high ceiling, then I think that's a good move. Walker or Trippier? Yeah, Walker. I'd back Man City more for the clean sheet, and I think they'll concede less because they'll win the game. Gabriel or Tarkowski? Gabriel. Turner or Flecken? Turner. Keep Gabriel? I would. If he's benched again, I'd look to sell. Jota will start. I honestly don't know the Liverpool lineup. It's between him and Darwin Nunez, and it could be a very close call. Gabriel or Udogi? Gabriel. Haaland's not playing, says El Patron. I'm not sure where you got this from, but let me know if you've got any tweets or yeah, any sources for that news? Let me check quickly. So we literally have less than 4 minutes left for the deadline. If you see anything, then be sure to let me know in terms of lineups, you know, leaks, anything like that. But I'm not so sure we've got anything just yet. So, yeah. Could be a simple standard team selection here, as I discussed in the video. Not much has changed. Bench Cash or Pinnock? I would bench Pinnock. Is Baldock injured? There are rumours that he is. I'm not so sure how reliable these sources are. Play Gabriel, Udogie, or Shaw? Gabriel. Will Odegaard play? Odegaard's the captain. He plays every single game for Arsenal. There's no reason for him to be benched, trust me. Cash or Gabriel? Cash. Who is Palace's penalty taker? If I'm not mistaken, actually, I don't think I'm sure here, because I'm in two minds about 2 or 3 players. So if there's anyone that knows the Palace penalty taker, then be sure to let me know. Apologies for that. Shaw or Pinnock? Pinnock. I have Shaw and Gabriel who to start, but I have Eze in the starting lineup. I would start Gabriel, and yeah, I understand that dilemma, but I just don't see United keeping a clean sheet against Spurs. Thank you, Adash. No worries, and it's always good to see you. Watkins or Haaland? I'm going for Haaland. So that's my answer. Thank you, Gil. Eze or Odegaard? Odegaard. Play 2, Bruno, Jackson, Joao Pedro. I would play Jackson and Joao Pedro, potentially. Would I? I'd definitely start Jackson, and then it's between the other two. I'm going to stick with my Bruno one. I think I'm going to stick with him. I mean, Kerwin, there could always be last-minute changes, not because I want to lead people or mislead people. It's because I sometimes just leave things to the last minute, but I think I'm quite settled. Baldock or Udogie? Baldock, I'd say, but even then, there are rumours of him not being in the squad. Start Shaw, Gabriel. Start Areola or Onana. I'd start Onana. Henrik says Eze. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that also bolsters his appeal. Yeah, it looks like Eze is the penalty taker. I was thinking about other names, but I think Eze is the one. Gonna have a gamble by not having any Liverpool and Chilwell/Turner. I mean, that's the thing. I don't have any Liverpool either. It could be a rough ride watching Liverpool against Bournemouth, but you can't cover absolutely every asset and every scenario. Chilwell captain. Good luck, Wei Seng. Let's see how it goes. That could be a big one. Mate, should I captain Haaland or Saka? It's up to you. You don't need me to tell you who to captain. I personally prefer Haaland. I think he'll score more points, but yeah, let's just wait and see what happens. Eze or Baldock? Eze. Yeah, good luck to you, Mohamed. Lavia or Caicedo? I think Caicedo's a better player. Lavia has a lot of potential too. Quite a similar ceiling, I think, to Caicedo, but I think Caicedo's the better player. He's more advanced in his career, can play multiple positions, very dynamic, and he's a destroyer in that midfield, despite not being that tall or physically imposing, but he is really, really good. Yeah, in terms of FPL, neither. Odegaard or Mbeumo? This week, yeah, probably still Mbeumo. Baldock or Young? Who to start? Probably Young. I just go for that. Yeah, and the deadline has just passed. Thank you, Kerwin, and good luck this week. And thank you, Wardy. Should I bench Gabriel for sure? I would have started Gabriel. Sanchez or Turner? I would have gone for Turner. Stones to Henry for the bench or roll? I would have rolled there. I have captain Salah and vice captain Haaland. Yep, I would have done the same thing. Good luck, mate. And we are locked. That is true. So thank you, Wei Seng, Abraham, Lager for the super chats, and also everyone else for tuning in. Yeah, we are locked in. Predictions time. I'll try to go through some predictions quickly before wrapping up this video. And also, I want to go and give a shout out to the members once again. So let's go to the channel memberships, which I think is here. So we'll go through bottom to top this time. So a huge shout out goes to Kat, who is a channel member and patron. Also to Abhishek, Birkan, That Air, Sergi, Ananda, Eric, Bruno, the great Aditya, Rupstars, Diego, Nathama, Julio Peña, Bestie, Gabriel, Mats, Farhad, Alex, George, Lavonier, OK, Aman, and George. I was getting confused there. I was going to say George and John for being channel members, and the other patrons that we have include Ben Lockett, Lovro Zuvic, and Keith as well. So thank you very much. We did get to, at one point, I think 60 plus members and patrons overall. We're going to try to get to that as well. So if you want to support the channel even further and sometimes get early access to, you know, my team reveals and all of that, even when I'm not showing my full team before the deadline, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and also become a channel member or patron. Yeah, predictions for Gameweek 2, you got it. It's coming right up. Good luck to you as well, Arnav. Good luck as well, Cylindra. Let's see what happens. Captain Diaby, I like that. Fernando as well, good luck to you as well. Let's see what this game week has in store for us. I benched Pedro, started Foden and Mbumo. Hope it goes well. Yeah, let's wait and see if Foden can finally nail down a spot in that team. Kept 5 million in the bank after game week 1. Did Salah in for Bruno. That's fair. I mean, just enjoy the points, I guess. You know, that could be a great move. Instant regret for captaining Chilwell. I mean, it could be a double whammy if Chelsea concede, but it could also be a double joy for you. You know, Chilwell doing really well and Chelsea winning the game. The league is really easy to join. You know, you can see the league code on the screen right here. It's been on the screen for most of the video. 7EG67U. You can also see it in the description below. There's an auto join link. All you do is click the link and you join. So very easy to join the league. Very easy. Anyone can join as well. I'll probably put some links as well, you know, later on Twitter and all of that, and also on YouTube, just for anyone who hasn't joined yet. Thank you, Deli, for you too. Good luck for Gameweek 2 as well. Let's have a quick look at the fixtures before wrapping up. So Nottingham Forest against Sheffield United. I am going to go for a 2-0 win for Nottingham Forest. Kind of uneasy about... You know what? I'm going to go for 2-1. I started Turner, and I think he's got a better chance of a clean sheet than Onana. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest. Fulham versus Brentford, I'm going to go for a 1-1. Liverpool versus Bournemouth, I'd say 3-1 Liverpool. I think Bournemouth might get a goal. Wolves against Brighton, I'm going to go for a... This is a tough one. I'm going to go for a 1... I'm stuck between a 1-1 or a 2-1 win for Brighton. I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Brighton. Spurs Man United, I'll stick with my 1-1 prediction. You know, I think both teams will score and it'll be a draw. Man City Newcastle, I'll go for a 2-0 Man City win. Aston Villa against Everton, I think 2-0 Aston Villa. West Ham against Chelsea, I'm probably going for a narrow Chelsea win, 2-1. And as for Crystal Palace Arsenal, tough. I think Crystal Palace can be a bogey team at times, but I think Arsenal should have enough to get the job done. If Gabriel gets back in the side, if Trossard starts, which is a big if, I'd be even more confident of a victory. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Arsenal. Let's wait and see how my predictions are. They don't look too bad on paper, but football is just so difficult to predict. No worries, we're saying, you know, you don't have to. The same goes for everyone else. It's just for those of you that want to support the channel even further and also get exclusive access to certain perks, like seeing all my team reveals. But thank you, Weiseng. Nunez, Pedro, and Haaland up front. It's a good front three. If Nunez starts, he's got a great chance of scoring this week. Lager has put a link. Oh yeah, I think it's to my my league. So thank you, Lager. So anyone who wants to join the league, the link has been provided by Lager very kindly. So thank you very much. It's in the description below in all of my videos and streams, and you can always see the league code on my videos on the left-hand side. So you can see my overall points, gaming points, and rank, and at the bottom you can see the league code there. So very easy to join. Is Watkins plus Diaby a good idea? It's a nice differential. I like it for certain game weeks like Game Week 2. But long term, I would rather differentiate the attack. And this is coming from someone who has double Arsenal and United attack. I am looking to diversify very soon. Yeah, 1-1 Brighton. I'm kind of in two minds about that. Salah hat-trick. Possible. I think he'll score 2. I think Salah will score 2 and Liverpool win by 2 or 3. 4-3 City win. Wow. Fair enough. Where is Jorginho? He had a bit of an injury problem heading into the Community Shield final. I think he'll play a part. He'll come on quite often to keep the ball, you know, control the tempo and kill games off. Yeah, 2-1 City is another good shout. I think it's 2-1, 2-0 City for me. I'll try my best to manage Discord server in the chat, of course. Well, you've done a good job of that already, Weiseng, so thank you. Thank you as well, Morpheus. Good luck this week. Anna Wali, big up to Nepal. There's a lot of people who always watch from India, Nepal, and also just countries all around the world, which is always a pleasure. Yeah, Tariq. Literally, if you check the link that Lager clicked, if the one that you put in the live chat, just click on that link and you join the league. If you want the league code, I can put it for you in the live chat, but it's literally on the screen as well, and it's always in the description. Not sure what else I can say about that, but I'll put the league code here. I'll put both of them. I'll put the league code and the auto join link, so you've got the options. But like I said, it's really easy to access in all of my videos. So here you go. Here is the link. So yeah, the league code's there, and you've got the auto join link, which is even easier to join. You can show the bench order every time you're streaming to avoid same question over and over again. You can show bench order every time you're streaming to avoid. Yeah, I mean, I could have graphics, for example, where I've got like benching dilemmas or stuff like that. That is possible. I do recognize that sometimes when I'm highlighting chats, it does get in the way of my bench, but it is quite easy. You can just pause the stream for a second, and many times you will see my bench. So that's quite obvious. And also, my team selection videos cover pretty much everything. And most of the time, what you see in the team selection video is what I end up with in the deadline stream, unless a development happens. Fair enough, voicing. I'll look into it. Deadly4U2 says, hey Dylan, what website do you use to check for all the latest FPL or Premier League injuries? I use premierinjuries.co.uk, so I'll put a link now in the live chat. Basically, all they do is compile the latest press conferences from managers, and all the latest updates are there. So just click that link and you'll see it. I also would recommend checking out Drafthound, which also has predicted lineups, and they take injuries into account. So if you haven't already, be sure to try out Drafthound first, and if you enjoy it, then click my link and become a pro pay tier member, and you'll have access to all the algorithms, predicted points, the assistant manager tool, and many other different resources such as chances of scoring, chance of clean sheet, fixture analysis, and much more. Yeah, time to watch Bayern. Yeah, I'm also possibly going to watch that as well. I think that's the first Bundesliga game of the season. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and this stream has been going on for 2 hours and 30 minutes somehow. So yeah, that's been a really good one, and the stream has gone by really quickly. So I know there's only over 100 of you watching, and we have reached over 160 likes, so thank you very much. If you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button on your way out, and also to subscribe to the channel. I think we are now 84 subscribers away from 19,000. So I think within the next week or two, we could definitely get to that milestone, and then look to push on after that. When UCL Fantasy content comes to the channel over the coming weeks, we can start looking ahead to 20k fairly soon, by October. So we've got some big plans for the channel, and we want to keep on building and growing. So be sure to show your support. And once again, a huge shout out goes to all the patrons and channel members, and also join the Discord server. All the links that you need to find are in the description below for Drafthound, Twitter, Instagram, and anything else you want, like the Discord server, FPL League, and anything really, anything at all. It's all there, everything that I've covered in these videos. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and also be sure to share this video with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy, which will come back very soon. UCL Fantasy is now officially live, so we're going to be covering that fantasy format very, very soon. As you can see, my Twitter and Instagram handles are there, both the same now, Dylan RCM. I'll just have a quick read of any last remaining questions we have, and then we will wrap up. So good luck, Wei Seng. Maddison will destroy United. Let's wait and see, Wei Seng. Let's wait and see. Opinions about Wolves' assets for the future. I think Jose Sarr is the best. Then you're looking at Kilman and Nelson Semedo. So I'm still more attracted to the defenders and defensive assets rather than midfielders and attackers. Stones and Rashford to Chilwell, Maddison -4. I wouldn't do that this week because Rashford plays Nottingham Forest. So if anything, save those transfers for Game Week 4. Mac puts his team, looks really good, and I like the captaincy, of course. You've got a solid defensive line, and I don't really have too many complaints about the rest of your team either. So if you rolled, I can understand why you did that. Good luck, Deadly4U2. See you waiting in the Discord server, and thank you, Bestie. As always, it's always a pleasure. And Mac, yeah, you got Saka too. Even better. I actually didn't realize there was only 10 players, so my bad. But yeah, that looks like a really good squad. I agree, Wei Seng. I think yeah, Caicedo should start and he'll do really well. And not only that, he will also help Enzo Fernandez do even better, because you have to say Enzo was probably surrounded by some pretty average midfielders, even in Game Week 1, but Chelsea are getting better. Can Luis Diaz counter Salah this week? I think so. I would expect Salah to outscore him, but Diaz should be a good option this week. And Adnan, as we covered a few times this video, I would have gone for Ederson, but it's a really close call. And that's really because I back Ederson and Man City defensively. Maybe backing Ederson's not completely true, because I don't like his, low ceiling. He doesn't make many saves and his bonus points aren't really there. But this week against Newcastle, I still would expect Man City to keep a clean sheet potentially. So let's wait and see what happens. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you very soon for future videos and streams. There could be a reaction stream very soon this week, and let me know if you want to see that. And there's going to be more stuff to come on YouTube and all my social media platforms. So I'll see you very soon. Take care, and I hope you have a great week.